hello. Hello. Oh, many mentions of chickens in the chat. How strange. I wonder how that could possibly be. Why are we talking about chickens today? I have never heard of chickens. What a random topic to discuss. Hi everybody, how we doing today? 2 days in a row. That's a little wacky. Though I guess yesterday was pretty short because we just talked about chickens. In a way. Anyway, hi Kingwin, hi Ty, hi Arctelos, hi Michael, hey Aggie, how we doing? How we doing, everybody? I hope we're doing well. I hope we're doing well. We better be doing well or else. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're fine. Yeah, I wonder what could have chicken. I have no idea. Chicken, 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 chicken. You know, that kind of thing. We're gonna have an interesting time today. Well, I hope we don't. We'll see. Mr. Kitty decided to start really acting up just before it was time to start the stream. So, such is the way of kitties, you know. They operate on their own schedule. Isn't that correct, Mr. Kitty? You're a very good man. You're doing very well. Would you like to read the paper with us, Mr. Kitty? That would involve me picking him up, and I think he would absolutely hate that. How much chick could a chicken chick if a chicken could chick chicken? From what I've heard about raising chickens, a lot. I've heard terrifying things about chickens. I'm afraid. Mr. Kitty operates on some sort of schedule. I'm not sure what that schedule is. No, Ty. Please be kind to my poor soul, my poor heart. I could not handle that. I'm just a little guy. Oh, man. So. Oh, good kitty! Mr. Kitty has become distracted. We're safe for now. We must move quickly while he is distracted. Anyway, so today we are reading a paper about belief in conspiracy theories, and we're reading a paper that I'm pretty excited about. I am a sucker for cultural psychology, but I don't know too much about it. And I really like hearing about context in conspiracy theories. I really like how the historical context, how the cultural context, all these things relate to belief in conspiracy theories. I think that stuff's really interesting, and I think it has been historically under-researched. So I'm very excited to see more research about that. Oh, you have tiramisu? Oh, I really want some kind of pastry or sweet right now. I hope that you enjoy it, Eggy. You deserve good tiramisu. Okay. All right. So, the paper that we're reading today is called Belief in Conspiracy Theories, and then they put their abbreviation in the title, which is kind of fun. Belief in Conspiracy Theories, aka CT, the role of country context. I'm very curious what they mean by country context. Like, are they talking about just, like, cultural differences, or are they talking about, like, the historical context and things that are going on in the country, or what? Egg, you know what? Stop. Have mercy. Yeah, so I'm very excited about this. I don't believe I recall hearing about any of these authors, but this was published in what I believe, I'm guessing this is more of a political science journal-y thing than a psychology journal. Not to say that I haven't heard of many political scientists who study conspiracy theories. For a long time, I was just reading, like, anything published in any discipline in conspiracy theories, and I would like to continue to do that, but... Ty, you're really competing to be a mod here, aren't you? You're always putting in bans. Don't worry. I'm not gonna ban Eggy, but I especially because Eggy's engaging in the same behavior that Tyler was just engaging in. Why would you ban somebody for doing the same thing that you were also doing? Shaking my head. SMH. SMH. Hey, Astral, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. I can sense the hypocrisy. Anyway, I'm very excited to see exactly what they mean by country context. Like, is it culture? Is it historical context? Is it some combination thereof? Is it... I don't know. I'm pumped. It's different when I do it. Oh my gosh. What, is Eggy logging Herobrine into the Minecraft server again? For context, I joined... Astral, Eggy, Warpy, and Co's Minecraft server, and Eggy likes to mess with the commands sometimes. So I have indeed seen Herobrine log into the server and never log out. I saw allegedly Phi log into the server and never log out, even though Phi isn't whitelisted. The server said Mylan is live. What? What? Are we getting alerts that I'm live on the Minecraft server? Why? Why? I don't know how I feel about that. I can't believe the Minecraft server is better at telling people that I'm live than I am. Oh no. Oh no. What do you mean Phi and Herobrine have always been in the server? Well, they can't have always been in the server because I saw them log on, which implies that they weren't on the server before I saw them log on, right? So they can't have always been on the server. Aggie is out here telling easily disprovable lies. Shaking my head, SMH. If you're gonna lie, make it more convincing, Eggy. Anyway, this is the paper we're reading today. They still have yet to... Jeez. They're not on the tab list. I checked. SMH my head. Indeed, SMH my head. Anyway, this paper was published in 2021. And look at this, look at this. This is this tragedy of publishing in academia. It was received in late January, and it wasn't accepted until a full 6 months later, or well, almost a full 6 months later. That's just how it is. It's just how it is. It just happens. It happens. There's delays on the side of the peer reviewers, there's delays on the editor, there's delays on the side of the authors, and things just take a long time, and like depending on the things that the peer reviewers want you to address or like do or whatever, it can be a whole thing. It can be a whole thing, and then finding peer reviewers in the first place is hard. Anyway. Publishing is a lot. I never want to publish again, but I do. How much of the paper do you read before you choose to use it on stream? I read the title. I read the title and I read the copyright license attribution. Or the copyright policy. That's how much of the paper I read before I show it on stream. That's why I put all these in the reaction playlist, because this is genuinely my first reaction to reading these papers. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. So yeah, this is me reacting. Hey Gomi, how you doing? You can get on a Mylan stream with good clickbait. What are you doing? I might not say much during this. Hey CDM, how you doing? Oh, CDM. Don't let me affect your work. Don't. Watch responsibly, or don't watch responsibly. Hello, Oni, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, today we're reading this paper, and we shall see how we feel about it as we go. Very excited to see what we've got here. All right, I'm starting it on the abstract. I'm sorry, I'm jumping right in. Because the sooner we finish this, the sooner I can play some Minecraft and Uma Musume, and also eat some food, because I'm hungry. Hello, Nep. How you doing? How you doing, Nep? Happy to have you here. Happy to see you here. Look at that. I haven't seen that icon of yours before. I want to get a better look at it. I'll have to look later. Anyway, right. So let's start in on the abstract and see what we're dealing with. I can speak the language of English, probably, maybe. Well, there is an increasing body of research on the individual predispositions affecting conspiracy beliefs. True. One of the basically, a lot of the literature for a very long time has been at the person level, and that's because a lot of this is done in psychology, and psychology typically does analyses at the person level. Not always, but most of the time. Yeah. Mostly we look at, like, traits and things like that. Pretty sure Mylan doesn't actually speak English and is a pretty crafty cryptid. It's true. It's true. Actually, like I have a voice changer, but it doesn't do what normal voice changer does. This is what my voice sounds like, except it's being automatically translated by an arcane spell that I have commissioned from a friend. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Confirmed. Confirmed. It's very inconvenient. I have like this necklace that I need to wear that translates everything. Is it a fish? No, it's not a fish, because the fish, Kingwin, you must understand, the babblefish needs to be inserted in somebody's ear. And I don't want to like go out and like run around and yeah, I'm not going to stick that. Well, first of all, babblefishes are expensive. That's just not a scalable solution. And also, I just don't want to be running around sticking fishes in everybody's ears. I feel like that's something that I can get arrested for. I did not put a fish in your ear. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm using a magical translation spell. More like a dog collar. Anyway, the dog collar from Up. I haven't actually seen Up. I haven't seen that movie. Maybe one day I will. But yeah, similar to that. Similar. I'm imagining it's somewhat similar to that. It's a necklace that I get to wear. YouTube auto dubbing. No, this is before YouTube. This is a magical spell that transforms the waves of my voice into something that you can understand. Or, well, into English, which I suppose not everybody could understand, but yeah, which is fair. Maybe I should get a babblefish. Can the spell do subs instead? No. Unfortunately, magic does not interact terribly well with technology. So, especially video tech. So, you know. I tried that once. I tried to do subs and then it just... Shut up, Astral. Shut up, Astral. What I mean is that everybody in chat understands English. Clearly, I don't speak English because I'm using a magical spell to translate my words into English, right? Which would imply that I need that magical spell, which would imply that I don't speak English at a level that I am comfortable broadcasting, right? I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm tired, and you're sending me on a tangent that is just me making stuff up as sillily and as deadpanly as I possibly can. Oh yes, it was clearly the translation spell. The translation spell glitched, and therefore my true meaning was not, yeah, you are so right, Kingwin. This is the problem with direct translation. You see, this is why we need some localization in our translation, because direct translation oftentimes can be misleading or not capture the true meaning or feeling of the original text. Yeah, I'm shaking my head. SMH my head. SMH my head. Exactly. They miss the nuance. They miss the cultural context. No good. No good. Even the magical spells, no good. Anyway. Anyway. Astral, please. Have mercy on my poor soul. Okay. So they're looking at the context level, which makes me happy because I'm a social psychologist and I love context. Context matters. That is our catchphrase. So we're looking at how context predicts this. We're not looking at how consistent, stable traits within individuals predicts belief in conspiracy theories. We're looking at how the place where the sort of place and time and things like that, where those individuals are, might predict their belief. So it's not an internal thing, it's how external factors are influencing this belief. In this research note, we developed the argument that socialization and communication factors on the context level may directly affect aggregate levels of generic conspiracy beliefs. Okay, so they're not actually looking at conspiracy belief. Not actually looking at conspiracy belief, they're more looking at conspiracy mentality. They're calling it conspiracy belief because generic conspiracy belief, aka like conspiracy mentality, I've talked about it a lot in previous streams. Conspiracy mentality is this general worldview that people might have that makes them more predisposed to believe in specific conspiracy theories, but conspiracy mentality is not really a conspiracy theory, any particular conspiracy theory in itself. It's just like a belief about how the world works, sort of. So they say generic conspiracy beliefs. I don't think they actually mean... Because what is a generic conspiracy belief? I think they're just I'm pretty sure they're just talking about conspiracy mentality. And indeed, if we go over to their keywords, conspiracy mentality is one of the keywords that they're using. So they're not so much talking about belief in any particular theories, they're talking about just like having a general belief system about the world. Second, we analyze whether these context level factors, what context level factors? Socialization and communication, right? Also interact with specific characteristics of the conspiracy theory. I'm excited about that. I love when people go into the details of the conspiracy theory, because a lot of research sort of treats conspiracy theories, I don't want to say it treats them like they're interchangeable, because it doesn't, but like, I really like when people just get into like how the actual parts of the conspiracy theory and the details of the conspiracy theory might be related to belief. I feel like that's something that we don't do nearly enough. Like most of when I see people doing that, it's just like, does this conspiracy theory match my current worldview? Or like, does it put down people that I like and excuse people, or put down people that I hate and excuse people that I like? I really hope they're going to the details of like the who, the when, the where, the why, and stuff like that, because I really like that. Is Americans predisposed to CT a meme, or are there other countries more prone to CT? USA may be a poster child of individualism and government distrust. Oh, yeah. So Comey. It's hard to compare cross-culturally because different cultures believe in different types of conspiracy theories. And it's hard to get overall baseline rates. I know people have tried to estimate this. The USA, and also the thing is, well, I guess there's been a fair number of studies showing that the rate of belief in conspiracy theories in the USA hasn't really changed over time. We read one of those studies on stream. But there do appear to be sort of baseline differences in levels of conspiracy belief across different cultures, though it's unclear if that's just an artifact of how they were measuring belief in conspiracy theories or what. But some people have theorized that certain countries have higher rates of conspiracy belief, and the ones that have the highest rates of conspiracy belief are countries where conspiracies do tend to happen, which makes sense. Like countries with a lot of corruption and stuff like that, tend to have more belief in conspiracy theories, because in those cases, it's perhaps even more rational to believe conspiracy theories given the frequency and popularity of just conspiracies happening already. You know, I don't know where the US ranks in terms of how common belief in conspiracy theories are. And then there's like how much you believe a conspiracy theory versus how many you believe. I could like there's the question of like, when I say, let's say the US people in the US believe a relatively large amount of conspiracy theories relative to other people, which I don't know if that's actually true. Is that a question of how many they believe? Maybe I believe like 20 conspiracy theories, but I don't really believe them. I just kind of think maybe they're plausible. Or maybe I just believe one, but I believe it really, really hard. And like, it's a question of like, how exactly are we defining this? And I don't know. Sorry, Gomi, I'm going on a tangent, but I'm glad I helped answer your question. Yeah, I'd have to look. It's been a while since I looked at those papers that tried to estimate relative popularity of conspiracy theories. I saw an interesting one, sweats in South America. Oh no. There was an interesting one I read recently that compared conspiracy belief in the US and Japan. But the problem with that is that you want to avoid causing confounds, you want to get a list of the same number of conspiracy theories between the two countries that you're comparing, right? So you want to get 10 conspiracy theories that are popular in Japan and 10 that are popular in the US, or however many. But then it might look artificially like people believe conspiracy theories the same amount in both countries, but you had to dig harder to get a list of 10 in one country than the other country, or like there's a lot of complications for that, or like there's a lot of potential confounds at comparing the base rate of belief in conspiracy theories in different countries. There's just a lot of problems with cross-cultural, well, I don't want to say problems, there's a lot of difficulties to doing cross-cultural research and comparing different countries with different cultures and different histories and different belief systems and stuff like that in general. Maybe I'll talk about that one day. Like, I'm not a cultural psychologist, I'm not an expert in it, but like there's no one right way to do it, and there's pros and cons, and we need a unit number of conspiracy theories by certainty of belief. Yeah, Comey, like when we talk about absolute conspiracy belief, is it higher in this country or that country? Yeah. Are we talking about the number of conspiracy theories? Are we talking about the strength of belief in conspiracy theories? Are we talking about some metric that somehow combines the two? Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't. It's like me answering a question with another question. It's like, oh, and I'm just like, well, it's like, who believes conspiracy theories the most, or which country has the highest rate of belief in conspiracy theories? And I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm gonna answer your question with a question because there is no good answer to that. Everything's anyway. My brain is just shutting down as we speak. I did not get a lot of sleep last night. But these are all interesting problems that we have to grapple with if we want to try and study this stuff, you know? Okay. So they're looking at how context, in terms of socialization and communication, I'm sad because that's not really the context I was hoping this would be. I'm very interested in how, like, historical context and current events and cultural factors in terms of trust and things like that might influence belief in conspiracy theories. I'm not super as interested in terms of socialization and communication. I think that's interesting, but that's not quite what I was hoping to get out of this. But that's okay. That's okay. Second, we analyze whether these context level factors also interact with specific characteristics of the conspiracy theory, which was what I was just geeking out about and excited about. In our case, the actors involved in the conspiracy theory. So specifically, first they're looking at how socialization and communication relate to belief. And they're also looking at how the culprit named in the conspiracy theory relates to belief, which I think is very interesting. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Like, there's some people who argue that, like, the content of a conspiracy theory doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter exactly what the details of the theory are. People just use the theory to express doubt in the official explanation, and they'll be willing to buy like 10 different culprits or 10 different explanations for why the official narrative is wrong. And it's not about believing any particular explanation. Believing a conspiracy theory is more about showing distrust in the official narrative as opposed to believing anything in particular. And then there are other people who say, like, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of interesting things with who we blame in conspiracy theories and when we are motivated to blame a specific group versus I'm willing to blame anybody as long as I get to say that the official answer is wrong. I don't know. I don't know. I think this stuff is cool. Wow, I just babbled a lot and summed it up as that's cool. I think that's how this is gonna be today. I'm gonna babble and say, in summary, I can't summarize what I just said at the end. Good night. Okay. Neat. Yeah. Or just like, I could do what John Oliver does. Blah, 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 blah. Cool. Cool. You know? Okay, running survey experiments in Germany, Poland, and Jordan with a total of 4,113 participants across all three. I'm guessing that's all added up. We find evidence for aggregate level differences between countries and for interactions between country-specific heuristics. So heuristics are kind of like decision rules or cognitive shortcuts, like snap judgments. They're like, maybe I have a heuristic that if I leave, like, I might have a heuristic that, like, if this treat is over $5, I won't buy it, but if it's under $5, I will buy it. Or I might say, oh, well, something that's more expensive clearly is higher quality. These are heuristics. They're like sort of decision rules. They're shortcuts. I'm not actually really evaluating the information. I'm just using some sort of cognitive shortcut to come to a decision. That's a heuristic. It's just sort of like it's a shortcut. It's a cognitive shortcut. So country level heuristics, what happens if it's exactly $5? Well, luckily for me, I live in the land of America where almost everywhere is like, if we say that it's $4.99, you're going to feel like that's less than $5 and you're going to think it feels cheaper than if we say it's $5. So we're just going to shave a penny off the price, which doesn't cost us much, but you're going to feel like you're getting a better deal, even though it's really not that much. So I'm not too worried about that. If it's exactly $5, then who knows? I feel like my heuristics are usually, is it less than $5? Not like less than or equal to. It's like if it's less than $5. Intuition, it's not necessarily intuition. Like heuristics can be very like explicit, right? They can be things that you consciously decide on as opposed to that. Have there been studies comparing 4.99 and $5 and how effective? I think there probably have been. That's probably in marketing and advertising work. Wouldn't taxes bring that item to over $6? Aggie, you're probably right. But a lot of the time when you're like, where you, yeah, like it wouldn't bring it over $6. It would almost certainly bring it to over $5 though. Yeah, probably. But I feel like a lot of people when they're making, unless they're on a very, very restrictive budget, many people, my guess is that many people probably don't factor taxes into that when they're making that decision, or they've already factored in taxes when they decide that $5 for the sticker price is their limit. I don't know. I don't know. This is not anything close to any area that I've really looked at, but sorry, going back to intuition, what CDM was saying. It's yeah, some heuristics are kind of like intuition and they might be happening unconsciously in your brain and you're just not aware that they're going on. Other heuristics are like I have explicitly decided that this is the rule that I'm going to use to do this. So like sometimes I'm like, okay, should I go and get a pastry at that shop that I really like? And then I'm like, I'm not sure, so I'm going to create a heuristic in my head where if I go past the shop and all of the tables are full in the shop, then I will not go in. Or like if there's a long line at the shop, I will not go in and get a pastry. If there is like only one or two people in line, I will go in and get a pastry. That's still a heuristic, but it's a very consciously decided heuristic. So heuristics are not all intuition. I think some cases of intuition could be heuristics, but not all of them are heuristics, and not all heuristics are intuition. Yeah, you only going into the shop isn't very good. No, no, no. Like, I know this shop is good. Like, there's a pastry shop I go to. I went there almost every day over spring break. Call me, please. That's a dangerous heuristic. But no, I know this shop is good. I just tend to walk past it during like off hours or stuff like that, or like weird hours. Um, like because I mean it's a pastry slash coffee shop, and so naturally it's going to be like busier during say lunchtime, busier when people have just gotten off work, and busier like first thing in the morning. But if I roll around, like if I walk past there around like 10:30 a.m. or something like that, or like 2 p.m. or something like that, there's usually not super high demand for pastry or coffee or whatever. And therefore, sometimes they're really busy for whatever reason. Other times they're pretty dead. Not because they're a bad shop, they're a great shop, but just because people aren't at the point in their day where they're out getting stuff like that. They're either in class or they're at work or something like that, and they can't really go out and grab food during that time. But I'm an academic, which means my schedule is really weird, which means I am often out and about looking for food at times when people would normally be stuck at a desk. You're encouraging rewarding yourself for having a weird schedule. I think it's more of just one of the perks of having a weird schedule. Like, I don't necessarily try and exert too much control over my work schedule. I have like some boundaries, but I don't really like go and be like, I can't do classes on these days of the week or blah, 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 blah. But there are definitely perks to having a weird schedule. Makes it easier to schedule appointments and stuff. It means a lot of the time I can go into shops during times when they're usually not that busy because most other people with normal schedules aren't there, that kind of thing. Not Greg's, what's the point? There's no Greg's in America, Comey. At least not that I'm aware of. I couldn't go to Greg's if I wanted. Well, I guess I could, but it would be very, very expensive to just go get a vegan sausage roll at Greg's for me. Let's see, Greg's. Where is Greg's? Find a shop. I'm going to find a Greg's. It takes me immediately to the United Kingdom. What's the point of the America? Or of the country if we don't have Greg's? That's a great question, and I don't know. Well, we do have the bakery that I like, so that can be a point. We have a lot of really good pizza places. That can be a point. I want pizza so bad. Oh my gosh, I could really go for some pizza right now. I want Domino's. I want Domino's pizza. You'll probably have a Brit shop in your local area that might have sausage rolls, vegan or not, but I apologize for your fine company. I might. Greg's does pizza. Greg's does pizza. Is it good pizza, though? There's a Greg's Pizza and Barbecue in Eastern Michigan. Hey, Torg, how you doing? I wonder, would that count? Can I say that I've been to Greg's if I go to Greg's Pizza and Barbecue in Eastern Michigan? It would still be a bit of a trek for me to go there, but, you know. What even is a sausage roll? I don't know. I don't know what a sausage roll is, but I'm kind of guessing it's like pigs in a blanket. That would be my guess. What is a sausage roll? It looks kind of like pigs in a blanket, but a bit more fried. It's a sausage and pastry. Yeah, okay, yeah. It looks like a lot like a sausage roll. What is a pig in a blanket? Roll versus pig in a blanket. I'm sorry, we're on a tangent, but I need to know. What's the difference between a sausage roll and a pig in a blanket? Oh, pigs in a blanket are wrapped in bacon, apparently. I thought pigs in a blanket were in pastries. Apparently that's a regional thing. So pig in a blanket different from pigs in blankets here, which is a cocktail sausage and bacon. Yeah, here apparently, depending on the region, a pig in a blanket is either a sausage, usually like a cocktail sausage, wrapped in bacon, or it's wrapped in some sort of dough. Comparing pigs in a blanket to sausage rolls is like comparing a corn dog to a sausage roll. I don't know. I don't really eat that much meat. Like I eat some meat, but like I don't eat that much meat, so I'm largely unfamiliar with this kind of stuff. I don't even know what's happening anymore. My poor, like, not quite but largely vegetarian self is just deeply confused by all of this. I don't know what's happening. Oh man. Anyway, let's keep reading. I'm sure we have sausage rolls, Astral. What's a pig in a blanket? Why does it have this name? Because sausages are made out of pig or pork, and the blanket is the either bacon or the thing that it's or the pastry dough that it's wrapped in. So the idea is like the pig is the sausage, and then it's wrapped in something, and it kind of looks like the sausage has been like tucked in and wrapped in a blanket, and that's why it's called pigs in a blanket, I think. I'm guessing. This is my educated guess. I don't know. I'm just a guy. I'm just some guy. I'm not an expert. Anyway, we find evidence for aggregate level differences between countries and for interactions between country-specific heuristics and characteristics of the conspiracy theory. These findings are in line with expectations based on context level socialization and communication mechanisms. In closing, we discuss remaining limitations and outline for promising blah, blah, blah. They're good. We have them at Christmas here. Ooh, I see. Oh, we just call it sausage roll here, though some places call it a knee for some reason. A knee? I don't like that. That makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. Like, does it have a joint? Can you, like, bend the sausage roll at a joint? That is I'm sorry, I'm having a moment. I'm just picturing something horrific in my brain, and I am making myself uncomfortable. Anyway, we were reading a paper. Well, just bending it is not enough. It has to have a joint if you're gonna, like, it needs to have a specific part that goes. I asked when they said sausage roll was the weird one. I see. See. So it's more commonly called a knee where you're from. I see. I have feelings about this. And I don't know what those feelings are. I don't even know if I don't even know the valence of the emotions I'm experiencing. Valence in psychology is like positive, negative. I don't even know the valence. I don't know if I have positive feelings about this, if I have negative feelings about this, if I have neutral feelings about this. I have some sort of feeling about it. We were reading a paper, Comey. You're right. I believe in us. We can keep doing it. Let's McFreaking go. Let's McFreaking do this. We are reading paper of papery goodness. Like valence electrons? Yeah. Same concept, just applied to emotions instead of electrons. Anyway, okay. What makes an individual believe in conspiracy theories? Boy, that's a broad question. Oh, man. This is like the kind of question that kind of bugs me at the start of a paper. It's just like, wow, that is so broad. It feels a little like starting a paper with like, many things have happened in the history of the Earth. It's like the question that's defined like an entire discipline. But like, I know a lot of people like to start papers like this. It just feels weird to me. I don't know. It feels like, yeah, yeah. Okay, anyway. In the past 10 years, a plentitude of studies have analyzed why people believe in narratives about a secret. Okay, so here, they're sneaking their definition for conspiracy theory in here, like slipping it in line without stating that this. Narratives about a secret group of malevolent actors that causes a hidden plot with the intent to secure or strengthen its own power. I have not seen it defined like that before, but, you know, I mean, that's roughly the same as every other definition you see. It's just everybody chooses their own wording for the definition. They're using, for similar definitions, like, everybody uses similar definitions, but all the definitions I see are just ever so slightly off. Is the answer always no if the paper's title is a question? Oh, I saw that. Wasn't that like one of the April Fool's papers that was released the other day? Hey, Warpy! The question sets a lot of expectations. The authors hype themselves up a lot. I don't know. I think they're trying to answer one specific aspect of that question. It's just like, it's making the paper sound like it's going to be way more broad than it actually is, but anybody who's like read a lot of papers in this topic or just is generally familiar with how research works in social sciences knows that this paper is not going to try and answer this entire question. Like that's an entire area of study. That is not something that any single paper is ever going to be able to even like partially address, you know? Among others, by hurting or even destroying the in-group of the believer. So this is interesting. They are specifying that conspiracy theories always say that people who believe conspiracy theories always believe that their group is the victim of that conspiracy theory. I would argue that's not the case. I would argue that people believe my personal belief is that most people are motivated to believe conspiracy theories that paint their own group as the victim, but I would argue that there are also people who believe conspiracy theories where their group is not the victim, their group is a bystander. But they are stating a specific definition where to be a conspiracy theory, the person who believes it has to be a victim of the conspiracy. Which, like, I don't think that's, like, a super implausible thing, but I do think, and I think that's true on average, but I do think that there are some edge cases that I would definitely consider conspiracy theories that this would not apply to, if that makes sense. Like, I could probably see myself believing conspiracy theories about a group that I do not belong to. I don't know. This research has been mostly prominently undertaken in social and personality psychology. Yep, that's my area. Hey, shout out to... Anyway, and has focused on personality traits and individual level attitudes towards society and politics. As a Brit, I definitely believe in conspiracy theories that we did stuff to others. Yeah, it is interesting when people believe conspiracy theories where they think their group is responsible. Abstract. What's the meaning of life? Methodology. We ask people how happy they are and how often they talk to their parents and look for a correlate to work. Is no the answer to this question? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. I'm betting the answer is it's complicated. Yet more recently, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, initial evidence accumulated that the level of conspiracy theory belief may be volatile over time, and context then would be expected if such beliefs were purely a function of long-term predispositions. Okay, so I think that this is slightly oversimplifying. I think that this is slightly oversimplifying what we seem to know. And I think that's the problem with the But C. Usinski et al. 2020. That's a paper that we read previously on this channel. I think the problem with they're conflating overall belief, like overall levels of belief in conspiracy theories, which we have evidence from Usinski et al. 2020 that that does not change over time, with belief in specific conspiracy theories, which I think we do have good evidence does change based on the context. For example, even Usinski 2020 that they're saying, but see this, showed evidence that belief in conspiracy theories about certain perpetrators did fluctuate over time. So I think like overall level of belief in conspiracy theories, just overall, does not really fluctuate over time. However, belief in specific conspiracy theories with specific details, specific perpetrators about specific events does probably fluctuate over time to an extent, though I also acknowledge that Usinski et al. Did find at least there were a fair number of conspiracy theories that were fairly stable over time. But they did absolutely find that certain conspirators being blamed for conspiracy theories, that did change over time more than belief in conspiracy theories overall did. So my personal thought would be overall baseline belief in conspiracy theories is pretty stable over time. However, belief in any specific conspiracy theory or certain genres of conspiracy theory may fluctuate over time. And kind of like, you know, like fictional media has been pretty popular throughout history at, I'm guessing, about the same level. However, the type of stories that we find interesting change over time. Or the type of stories that are most popular fluctuate over time. That's kind of how I see it based on what I've read. Like, this genre of thing is always popular at about the same amount. However, the specific type of this thing that is most popular will change over time, and based on the historical context, current events, the types of groups that hold power, that kind of thing. So I don't think that Usinski et al. Necessarily contradicts this. I don't know. Anyway. Oh yeah, 100% young adult dystopia stories one day decided to stop. Yeah, and they also one day decided to start. I remember the time before the Hunger Games. And like isekai, if you saw, like, I did this video a long time ago where I looked at trends in isekai publishing and stuff like that. And isekai really wasn't a thing. Like, it was kind of a thing, but like nobody really cared about isekai for a very long time, and then suddenly it just exploded in popularity, right? Like, different types of stories. Usually it takes like one or two big stories in that particular genre. Like, I think the young adult dystopia stories really exploded into popularity with the popularity of the Hunger Games. The big isekai boom seems to at least partially be attributable to Sword Art Online's popularity. Even though Sword Art Online isn't a true isekai. Oh, man. Anyway, where were we? Okay. Those really prepared us for actual life. Oh my gosh, King Quinn, I'm in pain. Hence, in this research note, we propose to take a context level of an individual's country more strongly into account. Basically, what's going on, how people's cultural context may influence belief in conspiracy theories, and as a socializing context, and as a context in which the most effective form of political communication takes place. Okay. Socializing context as in this is the context where, I'm guessing they're meaning this is the context where these people were raised and taught about norms and expectations for society and stuff like that. Basically, like, this is the culture that you are embedded in and raised in and taught about. Wait, yes. Yes, Kingwin. I'm waiting. I'm sorry. A chain chomp? What's a chain chomp? Am I gonna regret Googling this? Oh, no. I'm not a chain chomp. No. I am a slide rock bolter today. Mm-hmm. The Rocky Mountain chain chomp. Mario thing. Yeah, no. I'm a slide rock bolter today. Mm-hmm. I'm a giant whale-like beast that latches on to the peaks of mountains, and then when I wish to feed, I let go from the mountain and I open my mouth and I slide down the mountain and swallow anything in my path, and then momentum carries me up to the top of the next mountain and I latch on there and wait for my next prey. It's a beast of folklore in the Rocky Mountain region. You can see my tail that I use to latch onto mountains right here, as you can see. Sounds like Nestle for some. What are you talking about? Oh no, new conspiracy theory. Duck conservation of energy or something. I don't know. Just it's the roller coaster hunting strategy. Floofy. The concept of a land-based filter feeder is really cool, and I wish it got any attention at all, right? Slide rock bolters are deeply unappreciated. Yeah, the tail isn't floofy, unfortunately. The tail is just, it's kind of scaly. It is what it is. Anyway, where were we? We can talk about how cool slide rock bolters are some other time. All right. We start by outlining the ideas of scholars from cultural and social studies who indicate that individuals' conspiracy beliefs should be shaped by socialization instances, which makes sense. I could definitely make shoes out of you. You probably could. Please don't. I have so much more that I want to do in life, Heggy. But when I die, you have permission to make shoes and bags and gloves and whatever else out of my tails. I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to be doing anything with them, so. Then we move on from insights in political communication research and develop the argument that individual conspiracy beliefs may also be the effect of whether governmental communication in the individual's country is containing higher or lower levels of conspiracy theories. So they're basically saying, the first one is how you are raised to see the world in your country does the conspiracy theory thing. King Gwen, don't get them started. Please, King Gwen, don't get them started. But they just stopped doing that like 20 minutes ago, and now they're gonna start again. All right. And develop the argument that individual conspiracy theories may also be the effect of whether governmental communication, so basically elite signaling, is the government itself pushing conspiracy theories? Nothing, Astral, nothing was said. Finally, we argue that both socialization and communication, so socialization and the communication is specifically government communication and signaling. Astral, why do you do this? Why do you do this? Today was the first... I'm glad that you didn't hear about it for so long, and I'm sad that you have now. Every day I suffer a little more than I did the day before. Every day I suffer. I'm putting on my eye bags. I'm putting on my eye bags because I am suffering. Every day. A little more than I did before. Anyway. Okay. Not only have an impact on how likely it also affect which specific conspiracy theories are more believable than others. So They should always be on for Evex? Ivex? Okay. So both how people are raised within a cultural context interacts with how the government communicates with the people to produce or to predict belief in conspiracy theories and which conspiracy theories seem more plausible. That seems to be the argument that they're making. We derive two expectations. First, the context level should have an impact on the mean level of conspiracy beliefs per country based on factors such as country's religiosity. That comes out of nowhere. Religiosity is correlated with belief in conspiracy theories positively. So it does make sense to think that belief of conspiracy theories in a country is related to how religious that country tends to be. But they just kind of like drop that in there out of nowhere with no context, no mention of past research. I don't think that this is a psychology paper, but that's very jarring to me that they just say, we think religiosity should matter, and then they just don't tell you why beforehand. They're just like, yeah, this is a thing. Okay. Like, I know why that would logically be a thing because I'm familiar with the literature, but what if this was like the first belief in conspiracy theories paper that somebody's ever read? Like, would they know that? It just comes out of nowhere if you don't have that background, which is, I don't like that. Level of actual conspiracy experiences. Oh, that's fun. So, like, how many times have you actually like experienced a real conspiracy? Because we have found there are past literature showing that, again, countries that have more real conspiracies happening also have higher levels of conspiracy belief because, of course, if you know actual conspiracies are happening, it becomes more rational to believe that further conspiracies are happening. And also we know that people who are more willing to conspire themselves, so people who are more willing to participate in a conspiracy, are also more likely to believe conspiracy theories, which is really funny to me. Like, I understand the psychological underpinnings of it, but it's just silly. And governmental communication containing conspiracy theories. So this is the context that they're talking about. They believe that, this is sort of like hypothesis one. Religiosity should interact with, actual conspiracies and government communication to predict conspiracy theory belief. Second, and focusing more on the context of conspiracy theories. So here's their second hypothesis. Two. Conspiracy theory is more believable if it contains a conspiracy actor that is more negatively stereotyped in a country. So, CT has a negative, or blames a group that has negative stereotypes about it. In any given country's societal context or political communication, either from culture or political signaling, should lead to higher conspiracy belief, which makes sense. We do know that groups that have, it explains all the countries with more fragile democracies, history of coups, perhaps. Yeah, CDM, I'm thinking that's what they're getting at with the actual conspiracies thing. But yeah, political instability does seem to be related to like a certain belief, popularity of a certain genre of conspiracy theories. That explains all the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, sadly. Yeah. Generally speaking, there's this thing called a conspiracy stereotype. A conspiracy stereotype is a stereotype about a group of people that this group of people is a sneaky, conspiry group. It's and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and Jewish people, like stereotypes about Jewish people, tend to be these conspiracy stereotypes are a type of stereotype that is a common stereotype of Jewish people. Jewish people are not the only people that are not the only group that has conspiracy stereotypes about them, but they're kind of like the classic example. They're like the most well-known example of a conspiracy, or stereotypes about them are the most well-known example of a conspiracy stereotype. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, generally, groups that are perceived as selfish, underhanded, and powerful. Um, in Japan, isn't it often Koreans? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I do know I have encountered, and this is just anecdotal. This is me like talking to Japanese people about and like noticing the conspiracy theories they were talking about. They do seem to have a conspiracy stereotype about people from China. I've noticed. Yeah, but I don't know as much about that. But yeah, conspiracy stereotypes. We do know that in Japan it's both Koreans and Chinese. I see. I see. Yeah, but yeah. Stereotypes, we do know that stereotypes can play a huge role in belief in conspiracy theories, and oftentimes in terms of like um, the types of people that are blamed in conspiracy theories, the types of people that are thought to be conspiring, that's often highly related to stereotypes about that group. And also, belief in negative stereotypes about other groups is pretty consistently associated with belief in conspiracy theories about those other groups, though it has to be a specific type of negative stereotype. So like there's something called the stereotype content model, which says that you can categorize or describe most stereotypes on two dimensions: warmth and competence. Let's see if I have space to draw this out. I can probably do that here. All right. So the stereotype content model says that most stereotypes can be arranged on two dimensions. You have warmth, which is how much you like a group or dislike a group. Yeah, warmth, and the other one is competence. Sorry about my horrible handwriting. Where you think that these people, like, you either think that people are like they can't do anything, they have no capabilities, or you think they're high competence with they're very, very capable of doing stuff or whatever. I had a power outage just as stream began. They're conspiring against me. Oh no. But yeah, so stereotypes about certain groups of people are often sorted along these things. If you have high warmth and high competence, you think that this group is the best. This is usually where people sort their own group. Like they think, wow, my group is so smart and we're also so kind. We're great. High warmth and low competence, this is like groups that we feel pity towards. We're like, wow, you're really sweet, you're really nice, but you can't do anything on your own. You get all kind of like paternalistic, like we must care for this group. They cannot take care of themselves. They are helpless little babies. Then you have high competence, or let's go here. Low warmth, low competence. So these are groups that you do not like them, and also you think that they cannot do anything on their own, that they're stupid. We tend to be kind of grossed out by these groups and want to avoid them. And then the final one, which is where conspiracy stereotypes tend to fall, is low warmth, high competence. These are thought to inspire feelings of envy and things like that. So this is sort of where conspiracy stereotypes tend to land. It's a group that you do not like, but also you think that this group is very capable. So conspiracy like that's not exclusively what's in here, but conspiracy stereotypes tend to fall in there. Interesting framework. I like how it's organized. Yeah, I like it too. I'm screenshotting this graph. This is the best thing I've seen all day. Oh no, opposition day. This is a really bad representation. My handwriting is horrible. What is happening here? But yeah, so specifically groups whose stereotypes tends to fall in this low warmth, high competence box. If you endorse those stereotypes, you are more likely to blame conspiracy theories on those groups. How does this mesh with the enemy is at once powerful, pathetic, and overwhelmingly powerful? That's a great question, Torg. I'm not sure. Like, this is a spectrum. So in that case, you might And like there's different types of competence too, right? Like maybe if I think that the group is like competent in some ways and not competent in other ways, but they're horrible people, maybe I put them here on the spectrum. Like they're kind of competent, they're kind of incompetent, but I hate them, kind of deal. So this doesn't necessarily get into types of competence and stuff like that. The enemy is both gross and I envy them, maybe. And gross is not quite the right word that's usually used there. I think disgust is used there, or one of the ways to describe those. I put my own group on all four extremes depending on my mood. I get that. Oh, man. But like, and these are like theoretical emotions that might be, so this is like pride, I think. I don't remember exactly which emotions tend to be associated with these things, and like different authors will frame it a bit differently and things like that. But I see a lot of folks here placing their own people in gross to the point social scientists coined the term mongrel complex. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think part of that is like, so, and I'm unfamiliar with that term, but I do think that there is this, like, people will identify with groups more or less, and like even groups that they technically belong to, they may not very much identify with them. Hey Maury, how you doing? How you doing? Happy to see you. But like I may strongly identify as say Uma Musume player, because I play a lot of Uma Musume. But if you ask me if I identify as a gamer, yes, I play video games, but I very much do not identify strongly as a gamer. So I might hold very negative stereotypes about the group, about gamers or whatever, but because I just don't, even though technically I might be categorized in that group, I don't really feel like that group is an integral part of who I am. Like that one Black Mirror episode. I'm not familiar with that, Lyle Hazelton. I'm sorry. I don't know that episode. I haven't really watched much Black Mirror. So we need to make conspiracy theories about Uma Musume players? Please no. What I'm hearing is Mylan identifies as a horse? No! No! I do not identify as a horse. Maybe one day I can make a horse-adjacent model. We'll see. That would be fun. Anyway. Basically, what we were talking about in this one is like, their second hypothesis is that if people hold this sort of conspiracy stereotype, or if a certain culture has a conspiracy stereotype about a group, then people from that culture will be more likely to believe conspiracy theories that blame that group for the conspiracy. Kelpie model? Maybe. I'm trying to keep, cryptids. I'm trying to stick to cryptids that are from American culture and stuff like that. Just to be safe, but maybe. Let's see. Anyway. All right, so using an explorative research design in the framework of this research note that sets out, so this is very much not a psychology paper, and it's throwing me off a bit. It's not necessarily written or framed the way that I'm used to. There's a long history of how we develop that complex, but I won't be able to summarize it in YouTube chat. That's fair. I might look into it after, because that does sound interesting. I think, like, I've probably anecdotally like experienced or seen that happening, or maybe even felt that myself. Just I'm not familiar with it, so I perhaps am not super aware of it, or like can't comment too much on it because I don't really know it. Right. So we've got an explorative research design in the framework of this research note that sets out to inform future and more rigorous research, testing our arguments. So this is sort of like this is their starting point. They're saying, we're just testing these initial ideas. They say it's explorative, and I guess it kind of is, but they are stating some hypotheses here. They're not calling them hypotheses, and I think this might just be a disciplinary difference, but they're kind of stating, like, we have these expectations, and we're going to do analyses to see if those expectations hold up. Might send something in the Discord later? Okay. Sounds good. Like, no pressure, but I'll check it out if you do. We analyzed survey experiments fielded in Germany, Poland, and Jordan, with about 1,300 respondents in each of the three countries that vary significantly in their degree of religiosity, level of conspiracy experiences, and conspiratorial content of political communication. Is this at the country level, or is this at the individual level? Because they're making grammar here sounds like it's at the individual level, but everything so far has been sort of stated at the country level. Oh, I should write in my notes that this is 3 countries. Germany, Poland, and Jordan. Yep, Jordan mentioned. Our findings demonstrate first that this is just, they're already talking about their findings. This is just like a longer abstract. This doesn't feel like probably disciplinary difference. It just feels weird. They have a hypothesis. Oh, hypothesis. Oh no. Though at least it's easier to treat than hyperthesis. Oh no. I wonder what a hypothesis. I wonder what a hypothesis would be. Hypothesis. Hypothesis. I can't. Words. Language. Sounds, even. Energy. Oh no, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Okay. I don't know what's going on. Writes a paper in Australia. Hypothesis. Shut up, God. All right, our findings demonstrate first that citizens in these 3 countries indeed vary in their levels of conspiracy theory beliefs, indicating that the context may actually matter. Hypothesis is a strongly stated conclusion on shaky grounds like a conspiracy theory. Is that a real thing, or is that just like riffing off of the thing? Yeah, it is a thing. A form of metathesis with non-contingent sounds, in which non-contingent sounds are switched. Is it a linguistics term then? Riffing. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting so distracted. Again, this always happens. This always happens. It's part of my charm. What can I say? Anyway. So there was country level variation in the prominence. They keep saying belief in conspiracy theories, but the introduction seems to suggest that they're measuring conspiracy mindset instead. Yeah, so we'll have to see if they're talking about conspiracy mindset or conspiracy theories, but we'll see. Because I still would argue that conspiracy mindset and conspiracy theories, well, absolutely correlated, moderately to strongly, are not the same thing. It's like, the way I think about it, like the difference between conspiracy mindset and belief in a specific conspiracy theory is like the difference between, like religiosity, so just general, or maybe even like spirituality, believing that there's some greater force out there, and believing in a specific religion. It feels kind of like that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Lila Hazelton. I am very much. I don't have a cultural frame of reference. I'm sorry. I'm just like reading that. I'm like, I don't know how to respond to that, and I apologize. I am, as my mother refers to me, culturally deprived. Difference between my income potential and my actual income. Yeah, Komi, you can kind of think of it like that. I think a little bit like that. All right. Our findings demonstrate first that citizens in these... Okay, so there is variation in conspiracy belief across these countries, or conspiracy mentality. So variation in conspiracy mentality across the countries. So there are different levels of it, blah, 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 blah. We find no significant difference for CT credibility in regards to the conspiratorial actor among all citizens, has refuting the socialization argument underlying our expectation too. Interesting. So that's suggesting that cultural variation in conspiracy stereotypes didn't matter. So the particular types of stereotypes that were most common in each country, because different countries have different stereotypes that people tend to be more or less attached to, right? Some countries will have stereotypes that other countries simply do not have about certain groups within or outside of their country. And that didn't actually seem to matter as an explanation for belief in, for who people blamed am I reading this right? Yeah, when we analyze the data only for respondents supporting their government to explore the communication argument underlying expect, we find significant differences for government supporters for Poland, but not for Germany, as theoretically expected. Why would you expect that specifically? I hope they tell more. Yeah. Oh, this isn't hair dye. My hair's all one color. It's just inverted. My shadows are inverted. My shadows and highlights are inverted. So the parts of my hair that would normally be dark, I made light. And the parts of my hair that would normally be light, I made dark. Like the shading on my face as well. The parts where there would normally be shadows, I made them lighter. Like right under my chin. In the conclusion, we outline the implications of these findings for future research on the role of context-level explanations for conspiracy theory beliefs and discuss the limitations of our research note. Okay, tell me the measures. Is this actually conspiracy theory belief or is this conspiracy mentality? Ah, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Psychological research of the last 10 years, blah, 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 blah. Isn't this... In the past 10 years, In the past 10 years... Right, here we go. Has provided plenitude of evidence on individual level... Yes, yes. Yep, yep, yeah. In the remainder, we'll elaborate on the argument that the context level may also... There has been plenty of work on, well, maybe not as much as on individual traits, but there has absolutely been work in psychology and political science on how context predicts belief in conspiracy theories. In fact, like, I would argue that conspiracy theories specifically about COVID is a very contextual thing, right? Though maybe they weren't studying it from that angle. Anyway, we'll elaborate the argument that the context level may also have an additional influence on generic and specific conspiracy beliefs of individuals. I don't think anyone, at least no social psychologist, would have ever argued against this. Like, I don't think that any social psychologist would have ever said this is wrong, because our slogan is basically, like, context matters, right? But I think context has been understudied. I would very much love to see more looking into context. And how that influences conspiracy belief, just because that's like, I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's neat. I want to see more of it. So I'm happy they're doing this work. First, in some countries, we expect conspiracy theory belief to be generally stronger than in others, which may be due to country characteristics regarding levels of religiosity, of experience of actual conspiracy theories, and of government communication embracing. This is all pretty redundant with what they wrote above, honestly. This is just like, it's redundant. So I'm just gonna skip the rest of that section. In contrast to psychological research, scholars from the fields of cultural studies and sociology have highlighted the potential effects. Again, psychologists have studied this. They cited Usinski, who's a political scientist, admittedly, but like, they act like psychologists don't care about context. It's like they don't, and then they mention social psychologists. It's like they don't know what a social psychologist is. Like, context is kind of our thing. Maybe they're talking about the personality psychologist? I don't know, but, and like I said, like, a lot of the work in this area has been done on stable traits and not context, but we absolutely have looked at context. There are papers that look at context. Psychologists don't do good philosophy? I mean, we're not philosophers, but we do, like, we have our own philosophy of science, and, you know, philosophy isn't our job anyway. Philosophy, as I understand it, is like pure reason. Our job is to check the assumptions underlying the logic. Social psychologist, you mean like a psychologist square? I don't know. It's funny because we call ourselves social psychologists, but really we don't actually go out and talk to people a lot of the time. Many of the social psychologists that I know are introverts, myself included. Wait, what did I say? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Did I say something weird? Now I'm worried. I'm just confused. I am very, very confused. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep moving. PhD child? I mean, I do have a PhD, but I'm definitely not a child. Must have been the wind, must have been the wind. Okay. In essence, their main point is that some country have highlighted the potential. Their argumentation is twofold. First, in contrast to what they consider to be the main storyline of previous psychological and political research, they claim that conspiratorial thinking is not something bizarre or normal, but can be prevalent and thus shared culture. Who is they? Scholars from other fields. The fields of culture. Okay, I'm getting the idea that these are people from cultural studies and sociology, and they want to say, we know something that psychologists don't, despite the fact that psychologists very much do know this and have talked about this and have studied this, which admittedly I would say that it is understudied and under-discussed. But it bugs me that they're acting like we've ignored it, because we absolutely have not. I personally have done research looking at context predicting conspiracy belief. Like, come on. Is this like some kind of rap in chat? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, so I'm just gonna ignore it. Sorry. Let's see. Though if it does get to be spammy, which it is getting kind of... It is getting a little spammy out there, Lyle Hazelton. It's getting a little spammy, and if it continues to be spammy, I might time you out, okay? So, just as a heads up. Cool. Awesome. All right. Second, that... they claim that conspiratorial thinking is not something bizarre or abnormal, but can't... Oh my god, it's like they haven't actually read what psychologists are saying about conspiracy belief. Come on! I don't think anyone has, like, the vast majority of psychologists who study this stuff have absolutely not been arguing that conspiracy belief is abnormal or bizarre for a good 15 years now. Like, that is not the argument. It's like they're setting up a straw man. What field are the paper writers in? I'm guessing cultural studies and sociology. I think they think psychologists are conspiring. Yeah, I think that I think that they want to feel like they're special and they have a unique viewpoint and that they can bring something to the table that hasn't been here before because their discipline is better or like more wide reaching or has more insight or something. And it's like, you're setting up a straw man of what you think psychologists are, but you don't seem to have much insight into what psychologists actually are. Lyle Hazelton, you're getting a little spammy there again. Let's keep it on topic. And like, rather than sending multiple messages, you can just send a single message. It's okay. Of course, the psychologist is psychoanalyzing the paper. I wouldn't call this psychoanalysis, but I am a little skeptical of like, have you actually read in a sincere and open-minded way what people are saying? Or are you just projecting your expectations onto people? You know? Like, it doesn't seem like they are doing... It seems like they have preconceived notions going in, and they are ignoring or just haven't noticed contradictory evidence, which bothers me. I'm gonna look at the lead authors field. Okay. Like, I don't think they're necessarily doing this maliciously, but it rubs me the wrong way as a psychologist. And I do acknowledge that as a psychologist, I of course have a bias here. I of course have a bias, and I am motivated to protect my own discipline. So that could be getting in the way, but like, genuinely, the things that they're saying are not things that I believe to be true, and I can point out specific examples that are contrary to the things that they're saying. A political scientist said this? The psychologists and the political scientists here are usually pretty tight, like, in terms of, like, this type of research. I don't know. That bugs me. A psychologist killed their... Oh no. Is it lazy? I don't know. I wonder if these are people who are just like dipping their toes into this area for the first time. Um, and just like they haven't actually really, they're not actually up to date, or like they've read like a handful of papers that they thought would be relevant to their paper in particular, but they haven't actually, they're not actually familiar with the actual conversation going on at the meta level and like the actual norms and stuff. They just like picked some random papers from random year points and thought that they were totally representative of the actual conversation, which they are not. Who the heck even begins a paper with those allegations towards other fields? Some people are like that, you know, like some people are just like, my field is the best field and we're the only field and every other field is doing things wrong. And like, I'm not immune to like accidentally doing that sometimes, but like political psychologists or political scientists and psychologists commonly collaborate on research and belief in conspiracy theories. We work hand in hand. Like a lot of the papers that we've read on stream specifically are papers that were co-authored by both political scientists and psychologists. Oh, don't worry about the all caps, no worries. Yeah, but I do remember like during my grad school orientation, when I was doing grad school orientation, each area of the school, like each area of psychology that had a presence in my department went up and gave a little speech about their area. And the cognitive psychology speech, that person specifically basically shat on social psychologists. They were like, we're cognitive psychologists, so we study real stuff, unlike those social psychologists. And I'm sitting there as a social psychology student like, are you serious? Are you doing this right now? Oh my gosh, Astral, please. But yeah, people do that. They will absolutely do that. They're just, I mean, I had a physicist friend and we keep poking fun at each other, but only as a joke. Yeah. Me and my economist friend, I think I admit I poke fun at the economist friend more than the economist friend pokes fun at psychology. It's a bit uneven there, but I think my economist friend is doing good work, but I do make jokes about economists. But I always specify that they are jokes. So, like, I don't say I think economics is a horrible, stupid discipline. I joke about it. I joke. I'm not saying that seriously. That's not something that I actually believe. And me and my friend, of course, have that understanding that, like, I'm joking about it and I'm not at all serious about it, you know? But, like, this doesn't feel like a joke. This doesn't feel like a joke. Hey, Dwalberthrax, how you doing? Time to bring up the XKCD chart of the pure scientist hierarchy. That's so funny. More, yeah, like, an economist would say that kind of thing. Yeah, or, like, I'll make jokes and, like, oh, Tyler, please have mercy. But, like, I'll make jokes with this guy. Like, I've tried to read some of his papers, and they just go over my head, and I'll make jokes about, like, his particular sub area of of economics trying to turn everything into a formula, and like how I can't read their papers. Mainly, I guess that's more of a joke at my own expense because I just feel too dumb to understand their papers all the time. Economics papers make my head spin a lot. It might just be a skill issue. Maybe everything's a skill issue. Oops. Oh, what were we doing? What were we talking about? All right. Okay. I'm gonna keep reading. Even though they're being very mean and unfair to psychologists, I'm gonna keep reading. That's exaggerating, by the way. They're not being mean or unfair to psychologists. I just think that they, mostly I think that they don't seem to really know what's going on, in psychology. Second, that conspiratorial thinking might be a shared cultural phenomenon is supported, according to these scholars, by the perception that countries differ in credibility of CTs to the wider public, in their view, hence treating such a cultural societal phenomenon as something that can only be reduced to individual factors seems to be misguided. Okay, look, psychologists, I know this for a fact, psychologists have done cross-cultural studies on belief in conspiracy theories and looked at country-level variables, including at least 2 of the country-level variables that this paper claims they are doing for the first time and that psychologists would never touch. I know psychologists have done studies with like religiosity. There is at least two conspiracy theory papers written by psychologists that have looked at country-level religiosity and belief in conspiracy theories, and yet they're saying psychologists would never. Oh my god, shut up. I have no idea why this happens, and I'm going to explain it to you in 322 pages and 40 demonstrations. Oh, please. Mylan's going to start biting people? I am. I'm going to start biting people. I am so... Where's my hood? No, that's not it. That's the opposite of what I want to do. There. I am going to start biting people. I am this close to biting people right now. Oh my god. Like, I'm never gonna blame somebody for not have read one particular paper, because it's very hard to find all the papers, right? But, like, they are I don't even want to say that they are deliberately ignoring things, because it's possible they just never saw these papers, but, like, they are very much making claims that are untrue. Do I think they know that those claims are false? Honestly, I don't think that they know that those claims are false. But the claims that they are basing parts of their argument on are objectively false. Astral, you are increasing my stress levels. I am now high cortisol myelin. I am high cortisol myelin now. They say science is built on the shoulders of giants. Not here at Aperture. We do all our science from scratch. No hand-holding. Oh my god, that's kind of what this feels like. It's like, did you actually read the past literature, or are you just saying that you are doing... I mean, this happens to everybody. Every researcher I know has had an idea where they think that they're the first person to ever do this, and they can't find any other papers that have ever done this, and then they do it, and then somebody else looks at it, and they're like, I can name a paper from the 1960s that has already done this. Like, everybody has that one colleague. I feel like I know I could name exactly who in my department can do this. If you say, I have this great new idea, that colleague will be like, oh, that was already done by this paper by this and this person in 1963. It just feels like saying that, like, we are doing this and other discipline has never done this, or we are doing this and we are the first people to ever do this, or this is a novel thing. That's just plain hubris. It's just plain hubris. Everything has been done before to some extent. At what point do I point out that I'm not a woman? I'm not sure. That feels like it breaks the flow of the stream to say, hi, I'm not a woman, I'm sorry. Anyway, where were we? Back to the paper. Whew. Okay. In their view, hence, treating such a cultural... We term these kinds of argument as the socialization effect of the context level, as it expects citizens being shaped by their societal surroundings over a long-term period. Scholars in this tradition hence propose to think of individuals' conspiracy beliefs to be affected by long-term collective factors, such as the role of religious traditions within a given society or collective experiences of actual conspiracy theories throughout a society's history. I genuinely do not know why they think that social psychologists don't consider this. It's baffling to me, honestly. They're actually speed writers, and they write the paper between you saying it and them reply. Oh no. Go back to biting the authors? Absolutely. Except the word waifu on paper, apparently. Wait, waifu is gender neutral. Waifu is gender neutral. My prof in that research class, to say that to our knowledge it has not been studied. Yeah, Komi, that's a good way to put it. Or you could just say this is an understudied avenue. To our knowledge, this is the first. Putting the to our knowledge is a very good way to say it. The hoodie looks familiar, but is this a new model? Hey, Marlon, how you doing? This is not a super new model. I debuted this model sometime last year, but I don't use it too often for research streams. But good to see you, Marlon. Happy to have you here. Happy to have you here. But yeah, they're like... Psychologists say that contexts don't matter, as if social psychology's entire slogan isn't context matters. It's just, it's bugging me. It's bugging me. This paper, the way that they are talking about psychologists is bugging me. It was last year? Well, I mean, we're only... Oh my god, we're on the 4th month of 2026, actually. What the... I was gonna say it's only the start of 2026. 2026 is still fresh and new, but I don't think that's actually true anymore. Oh no. When did I do this model? I think I did it for Halloween. I think I debuted this model on Halloween of last year. Yeah, Halloween of last year. It's the first third still, that's true. Do I do non-live content? Yeah, I have some videos up. I don't do them nearly as often though. I only do videos like once every like 3 months or so. My latest video was posted at the start of February. So live content much more often, but I do edited videos as well. I'm about to make you a song. Uh-oh. My stats lecture series is really good. Thank you. I really like my stats lecture series, though the stats lecture series is largely like VODs. So most of those were live, though I do have a couple of stats videos that were edited video that were like intentionally recorded video content. Stats class is so fun. Would recommend. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that it holds up. Okay. Scholars in this research tradition hence propose to think of individuals' conspiracy beliefs to be affected by long-term collective factors. Okay, right. In the case of the US, for example, an argument in cultural studies is that the Puritan tradition of founding generations, especially its perception of the devil being behind any negative event happening, prepared the way for society being substantially fascinated by conspiracy theory. This kind of bugs me. Because, like, we know that conspiracy theories have shown up in at least to my knowledge, I'm putting that in there again. Conspiracy theories have appeared in every single culture that we have studied. Like every single, oh, thank you. But yeah, conspiracy theories, we have found at least some form of conspiracy theory in every single culture that we've studied. It does, like overall incidence does appear to vary across cultures, but there is a baseline level in basically every culture that we've seen. Yeah, I know. The VODs are unedited for better or for worse. Tyler, you can compliment the things that I've created, but if you compliment me directly, I will explode. I'm happy to take compliments for the things that I've created, but yeah, I'm starting to get really angry at this paper. Not gonna. I'm probably not framing the paper in the most generous way because, admittedly, the way that it is written is making me biased against it. So I'm getting angry at the paper, and I worry that is my anger might be infecting all of you, and my anger is probably stronger than it needs to be. Dang it, Comey, don't do this to me. Don't do that. Thank you, but you're gonna... Conventional sovereignty is not equal to conspiracy. I guess it depends on how you think about it and how you define those terms. I can buy that it influences the flavor of conspiracy theories that are popular in the US. I agree, Torg. I think it absolutely can influence the type of conspiracy theories, but, you know, shut up, Eggy. Thank you, Eggy, but also shut up. Okay. As a second example, the history of experiencing actual conspiracies as a group might be a factor in explaining the surprisingly higher levels of conspiracy beliefs among citizens in the Arab region and many Afro-American citizens in the US. Yes, this has been a long-term argument. This is worse than the time they made a graph just to spite you. I don't know if this is like the most irritated I've gotten with a paper on stream, but it's up there. Mylene, shut up, Tyler. Shut up. Thank you, but stop. I need to read the paper, and I'm gonna end stream if this keeps happening. That's a threat, and a promise. Well, no, I'm not gonna make a promise, but it's a threat. But yeah, no, this has like been a thing that we've known for a long time, and I don't know why they're acting like psychologists are ignorant of this or disbelieving of this. Like, we've known this. We know this. Okay. A second strand of research grounded in research in political communication has most recently proposed to analyze more consistently the effects of political communication using conspiracy theories. Such political communication effects may have been considered as context-level effects, since the use of conspiracy theories obviously varies between political and societal elites of different countries. From that perspective, in countries where the political and social elites use conspiracy theories more frequently, the societal stigma of believing in such theories should generally be lower. Yeah, this is norms. This is elite signaling. We've talked about this. I literally mentioned this earlier in the stream. Like, this is We know that this is the thing. We've studied it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm normal again. As a result, more citizens should be willing to agree to conspiracy theories in general. We call this the salience effect of political conspiracy communication. Or you could call it norms. Or you could call it elite signaling. But you won't, because you think psychologists are stupid and that we haven't thought of this. I'm kidding. I'm treating them as more frustrating than this actually is. I'm sure that genuinely they did not mean to come off as this way. I don't think that this was intentional. I don't think they're taking intentional digs at psychologists. I think this is a matter of, like, they haven't actually read much psychology in this area. They haven't really talked to psychologists. They're drawing conclusions from a small number of papers that they might have read that may or may not be representative of psychology as a whole. Yeah, like, it's bugging me, but I don't think they're actively malicious. I think that it's just a matter of lack of contact with psychologists and the work produced by psychologists. Both strands of research are compatible, as there's a higher likelihood of conspiracy-intense political communication in countries shaped by higher religiosity and higher degree. They keep also making claims without citing anything. Like, they keep bringing up religiosity, and at no point have they cited any articles showing that religiosity should be related to this, which is frustrating to me because those articles absolutely do exist. And one of those articles, in fact, I guess it was published the same year as this article, so, like, I can't expect that they would have cited it. But, like, one of those articles, in fact, is a psychology article where it looks at religiosity and belief in conspiracy theories at the country level, which would directly contradict everything that they've been arguing about psychologists and psychological approaches to belief in conspiracy theories so far. Wouldn't that be inconvenient to mention? Which, again, it was published the same year as this, so I would not be at all surprised if they were just unaware that that paper existed. I don't even know if that paper was published before this paper was published. But, like, it just seems like they're making a lot of arguments where they've set up a straw man of what they think psychology is doing, while ignoring or just being ignorant of the fact that psychology had already been doing for a long time a lot of the things that they claim it hasn't. And that's really what's getting to me. In some, we exploratorily expect in this research note that the general likelihood, I'm sure APA does have a way to cite a mixtape. APA allows you to cite a lot of different things. In some, we exploratively expect that in this research note that the general, see, they're saying conspiracy mentality, but they keep saying belief in conspiracy theories. This is what we're studying, belief in conspiracy theories. But conspiracy mentality, Galileo complex, I'm going against the establishment to revolutionize science, even though he wasn't the first to think of heliocentrism. It feels kind of like that. It feels kind of like that. Like, they feel like they're revolutionizing science and they're enlightening the poor, ignorant psychologists. And it's like, buddy, we've been talking about this for over a decade. Like, I don't know who you think that this paper is for, or who these, like, saying psychologists have been ignoring this is for. But, like, it's not the ones that I know. It'd be like saying engineers haven't studied forces holding up bridges, and engineers are like, that's kind of what it feels like. Like, again, I will admit that a lot of, especially the earlier work on conspiracy theories in psychology, was focused on individual traits. But that is not all of it. Yeah, I gotta love it when somebody tries to tell a totally different field they're wrong about everything. Yeah. And what's really frustrating to me about this is if these guys are, like, if these authors are political scientists and psychologists have been collaborating to study this stuff for nearly 2 decades now. Like, psychology and political science have been in conversation about conspiracy theories for over 15 years. We have been working together. We have been talking together. I had a political psychologist on my dissertation committee. Like, but these people feel like people who came into the conspiracy theory literature late. after there had been a lot of work already done, and because there was a lot of work already done, they were able to do the thing where they only read papers in political science specifically about conspiracy theories. Whereas, like, when I started this, and when a lot of people a lot of the really prolific researchers started this, there were so few people doing this that we were reading everything. We were reading political science, we were reading anthropology, we were reading history, we were reading psychology, we were reading sociology. We were just reading any conspiracy theory paper we can get our hands on, regardless of the discipline. But these people feel like they've just only been reading political science papers about conspiracy theories, and not even all the political science papers, only reading the purely political science papers. None of them, they were like, oh, this political scientist collaborated with the psychologist for this paper? I'm not going to read it. That's what this feels like. It feels like they just didn't bother. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Right. Context effects. The varying credibility of specific... Lyle Hazelton, you are spamming again. I have warned you, so I am going to time you out for 10 minutes. You can come back if you want to after that 10 minutes, as long as you don't go back to spamming. But if you go back to spamming, I will time you out for longer next time. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Second, the content of conspiracy theories might also play a role for the credibility of conspiracy theories among the public in a way that is dependent on the country context. Yep, there's been work on this before. I do think, though, that this aspect is very, very understudied, which makes me sad, because I think that this is a really, really cool aspect of the area, and I think part of the reason it's understudied is because some of the earlier papers in this area did find that the specific contents of conspiracy theories don't necessarily matter all that much, at least in some cases. So maybe that's why this isn't something that's been studied a whole lot. There's that famous paper on how people are willing to believe mutually exclusive, mutually contradictory conspiracy theories, which I think kind of discouraged people from looking at how individual features of conspiracy theories can relate to belief or disbelief in them. But like, I'm happy they're studying this. It has been studied, but it's been understudied, I would say. Perhaps because of that. Recent events related to the COVID-19 impact and media coverage reporting about these events have indicated that the conspiratorial actors are the most dominant in conspiracy communication, seem to vary over countries. So yes, yeah, we've been known that people who believe conspiracy, or different countries tend to blame different groups for conspiracy theories, and it's usually a group that's a salient threat in that country at that time point. So like during the Cold War, we blamed Russians for conspiracy theories a lot in the US. Places where there's historically a lot of conflict between two countries, those countries tend to blame each other for... So like Japan and China and Korea all have mutually had a lot of historical conflict with one another, and they tend to blame each other in their conspiracy theories. Like, we've known this for a long time now. Well, maybe I shouldn't say a long time, because this is a very new, like, in the grand scheme of things, research into conspiracy belief is pretty darn new. But like this, there have been studies that have looked at this in the past, so this is not surprising to me that they're making this claim. We have data to back it up. Conspiracy theories focusing on Bill Gates as a secret agent behind conspiracy seems more popular in Western Europe, while China as the secret agent seems more plausible to US Americans. Interesting. Well, yeah, this is during the height of the, this was published and presumably done during the height of the pandemic, and during the height of the pandemic, like, negative stereotypes, prejudice, and stuff like that towards Asian people and China in particular became very popular due to the perception, or well, due to that the first cases were recorded in China, and therefore the dominant threat at the time, which was the pandemic, seemed to have originated from there, and therefore they were the target of a lot of conspiracy theories. We assume this to be the context-level effect, the mechanism which may be explained from the socialization and political communication perspective, or a combination of both. In the US, I'd say it was largely the political communication aspect. It's the fault of the chaos gods, humanity. Yeah, it's time to go blame Like we need there's a superordinate threat and something. Newton was called a madman. Wasn't he a very respected professor at Cambridge though? I don't actually know that much about all that, but I don't know. I feel like we often, though, I don't know if this is we do often either feel like pre-existing people or like historical figures were more or less respected in their time than they actually were. We have weird perceptions of that. Where take Hungary under Viktor Orban as an example. Probably the single most important conspiracy theory used by Orban and his government is the theory that George Soros aiming to destroy the real Hungary through secret plots such as the increase of mass immigration to Hungary or implementation of anti-Hungarians. The focus on Soros not only builds on anti-Semitic and anti-capitalist stereotypes that have been prevalent in parts of the society for a long time, but by insisting on them in the repeated use of the Soros conspiracy theory, it makes these stereotypes and their socialization effects even more enduring. Basically arguing that there's a self-reinforcing cycle here. I was under the impression he was well respected, but also very strange. Could be. Hence, we argue that specific characteristics of conspiracy theories as their content make them more or less believable dependent on... I think about this kind of the opposite way they do. They're taking it as the conspiracy theory blames somebody first, and that's why it catches on. The way that I've historically thought about this is the conspiracy theory catches on first, and then people choose who they want to blame for the conspiracy theory based on cultural things. Or I don't know how to put that. Like, it's not the who's being blamed that... Or maybe it is. No, I'm rethinking. I'm walking back on what I just said. I think that maybe I was misrepresenting my own thoughts a little bit, which is a weird thing to do, but it happens sometimes. You say things and then you realize, wait a second, that's not what I actually think. I do think that who is being blamed in a conspiracy theory is one of the single most important aspects of conspiracy theories. Like, who you're saying is at fault is very, very big. So, yeah, I agree with that. We argue... where was I? Hence, we argue that the specific characteristics of conspiracy theories as their content make them more or less believable depending on these characteristics are more salient in political communication of the country. So, like, are the political elites messaging both this conspiracy theory and messages against the group that's being blamed, and or are more in line with socialized stereotypes in a given country. So, conspiracy stereotype gets into this. The unwritten stuff is always very mystical and absolutely strange. Very, yeah. In this first investigation of this argument, we focus on the conspiracy theory actor, so this is who's being blamed, the perpetrator, as a key conspiracy theory characteristic. Hell yeah, I support this. As the examples above indicate that specific actors make a conspiracy theory more or less credible in a country or regional context. I don't know. I feel like the conspiracy theory is probably equally credible. It's just people will blame different people for the conspiracy theory depending on their cultural context. And who's being blamed may draw them to believe the conspiracy theory. But it feels like the way that I think about it is like localization, right? Like, I'm thinking of that one scene in Inside Out, where they changed the type of food that the daughter was disgusted by depending on the country. Like, in some countries it was broccoli, in others it was green peppers or whatever. It feels like that, or like the sport that she played, like soccer or hockey or whatever. It feels kind of like that. It feels like people will blame different people for the same conspiracy depending on their cultural context. It feels like localization of conspiracy theories, kind of. In my brain is how I kind of feel like it. I don't know. Obviously, I'm thinking and talking on the fly, so I hadn't heard that they did that. Yeah. It's really... a lot of these, like... Maybe not a lot, but like some big box office movies and stuff like that will change certain aspects of the plot or scenes and things like that depending on the country that they're being shown in. I think that's more common in like Disney movies and stuff like that. But yeah, like sometimes they will literally change the visuals or the dialogue. The dialogue is more common for translations, but like the visuals sometimes they will straight up change the videos or the visuals or plot points depending on which country the movie's being shown in. It's really interesting. And that's kind of what this feels like here. Like, I imagine countries can import conspiracy theories. Like, 9/11 conspiracy theories are believed in many different places in the world, I imagine the bulk of them started in the countries directly affected, like the US and things like that. And then they started to be spread throughout the world and be believed in other countries. However, who was being blamed for the conspiracy theory probably changed as it was exported to different countries in different like cultural contexts, is kind of what I'm thinking. I feel like I'm kind of on a tangent right now, so I'm going to try and reel it back in. From the socialization perspective, a conspiracy theory should become more credible to an individual if the malevolent actor is an actor that is already perceived negatively from larger parts of the society the individual is living in. Makes sense. Visuals take effort, but especially dub does it all the time. Absolutely, Oxygen Tank. It's very, very common in dubs. That's just localization. I've seen entire movie plots changed in different dubs in cinemas where I live. Yeah, they were doing that when they first started localizing the Miyazaki movies, and then Miyazaki got real angry about it. But yeah, there are certain movies where like, or to take a very extreme, silly example, think about the Ghost Stories dub. That one anime dub that's famous for just completely changing the dialogue. But like, you know, plot points will be changed, idioms will absolutely be changed. Mononoke changed this, yeah, right? Like they will change things. Either sometimes they'll change things to get the tone across, like there's an idiom in one language that doesn't make sense in another. Other times they'll change like stores that are mentioned or things like that. Other times they'll, you know, change dialogue things to make it seem more popular. Like I'm thinking like the old 4Kids dubs where like the famous, I don't think Pokemon dub was 4Kids, but you know, the famous jelly donut thing, like they would sanitize or they would basically edit out aspects of Japanese culture to make it more palatable to Western audiences. And that's a little bit what this feels like, except not so intentional. Just like they will adjust the conspiracy theory. Oh, Pokemon was 4Kids? I mean, the vibes are 4Kids. Pokemon dub. Or Pokemon English dub. Yeah, the purple Jinx thing. Like in Fate Grand Order, they lightened Emiya Alter's skin. Oh yeah, no, oh, okay. Season 5 specifically was dubbed by 4Kids in the US. They didn't even edit the rights, they changed the dialogue, but not the animation. Yeah, 4Kids in some cases would straight up change the animation, though. Yeah, Tyler and all, like you said, changing things like cigarettes with lollipops, yeah, or like guns with weird contraptions that had like boxing gloves on the end. In a later episode, they badly pasted a picture of a sandwich over a rice ball, but in the Jelly Donut episode, they didn't even try it, yeah. Only one I can think of is Cinderella Grey Merry Christmas thing. That was done with approval from the original. To keep the original meeting, the famous story was Disney got sent a katana with a note. Yeah. Oh, I thought season 1 Pokemon was 4Kids. Never mind. I don't know. I'm looking at the wiki, so who knows if the wiki's correct. But it looks like seasons 1 and 1 through 5 were done by different ones. Season 5 was 4Kids, according to the wiki that I'm looking at. Or no, maybe what. I'm seeing conflicting information. I don't know what to believe. I give up. I don't know what's going on. I'm just a little guy. All right, let's keep going. We might not finish this paper today. Because I know we've only been going 2 hours, but I'm tired. I thought it was all 4Kids until TPC took it over directly. That could be. Maybe it was 4Kids and then TPC took it over and then the wiki's just not displaying that in a way that makes sense to my brain. That's probably it. They're probably indicating that it was originally 4Kids, and then these seasons were, anyway. Yeah. Anyway. An individual takes the negative societal. Bulbapedia says they did it all in 2006. Okay, yeah, I trust Bulbapedia more than the source that I was looking at. All right, that makes sense. I think I just got confused. Sorry, thank you all for correcting me. I appreciate it. Right. An individual takes the negative societal opinion towards the actor as a straightforward and accessible heuristic to decide whether this actor may in fact be able to conspire or not, and hence whether the conspiracy theory is believable or not. From the political communication perspective, a conspiracy theory should become more credible to an individual if the malevolent actor is an actor who's repeatedly been part of a conspiracy theory issued by So basically, if conspiracy stereotypes exist in the in this culture, then that group will be more likely to be blamed for conspiracy theory. And if elites are signaling that this group, or if elites like move influencers, I say influencers broadly, not just like social media influencers, but things like politicians and authorities and stuff like that, are communicating that this group is sketchy and doing conspiracy things, then they are also more likely to be blamed. We hence exploratorily expect that in this this doesn't feel exploratory. I don't know. Expect in this research note that citizens' belief in a specific conspiracy theory is higher if the conspiratorial malevolent actor is in line with common long-term stereotypes widely distributed in society and or in line with conspiracy theories promoted by trusted... Yeah. This doesn't, like, there's already been studies that looked at similar things to this. This doesn't feel very exploratory. Like, this has been done. This stuff... or at least very similar stuff to this has been done. Research design. We do not aim to comprehensively test the theoretical expectations that we aligned. Elites here sound like key opinion leaders, as the term is used in other countries. Yeah, key opinion leaders. Yeah, Comey. I think in here they're specifically saying political communication, so I imagine they're specifically talking about politicians and like political figures. But in psychology, like, if we talk about like social norm signaling and stuff like that, we'd probably be talking about key opinion leaders more broadly. In this case, they're talking about a very specific type of key opinion leaders, which is those in politics. But yeah. In this research note, we do, instead we understand our empirical analysis to be a first explore. This is not the first. You are not the first people to do this. Stop acting like you're saving the psychologists. We've already done this. Probably in collaboration with some political scientists even. I got so mad that my cat went to check on me. That's where we're at. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed. To do so, we designed and conducted a survey experiment in 3 countries, Germany, Jordan, and Poland. We will first discuss the selection of cases in somewhat broader and more qualitatively enriched way. This allows us to illustrate why we consider these cases as a first but revealing look at whether our theoretical argumentation may find... There already is evidence for it in reality! Congratulations, it already exists, you just didn't cite it. Maybe because you didn't read it or didn't find it for whatever reason, but it already exists. It exists already. Congratulations. Cat wellness check means you need to stop and pet the cat. He hates getting pet. He doesn't like getting pet, so I don't think he'd want me to stop and pet the cat. As tempting as that is. Though this might be another paper we have to rage quit. Amateur political scientists claiming psychologists didn't study something that they've already studied. Hey, Professor Hedgehog, how you do it? That's basically what this paper has been so far to me, and I'm just slowly losing my mind. No, Professor Hedgehog's great. His opinion. Oh wait, are you talking about my cat? No, my cat's opinion matters, because if I upset him by petting him too much, he will try and bite me, which is very fair. He is entitled to his bodily autonomy. Oh man, my throat is getting sore. My voice is... I'm losing my voice. I feel so weak. How is this happening? Why? Why? This has only been 2 hours. What's wrong with me? This is like when I started streaming. Economists are much smarter. They just claim the psychologists didn't study something correctly. Do I need another Dr. Pepper? Maury, are you encouraging me to get another Dr. Pepper? Are you encouraging me to get another Dr. Pepper? What is happening? What? Chicken. Time for myelin art therapy. Draw the myelin angry noises girl meme. This was a test and you failed? Maury, please be nice. Be kind and merciful to me. Please. I'm just a little guy. I'm just a little guy. I already had a Dr. Pepper immediately before stream. I'm not gonna get another one. You're supposed to lie and say, oh, I didn't have a Dr. Pepper. I'm not gonna lie to you, Maury. I'm trying to build a reputation as an honest and credible person, and I don't lie to people. I try not to lie to people. I will be honest with you. I have had a Dr. Pepper. Low cortisol myelin dance. You know, I've thought of it, and then I realized, Tyler, low cortisol myelin doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a low cortisol myelin. There's no such thing as a low cortisol myelin. It doesn't, that's not a thing. I've thought about figuring out how to do a high cortisol myelin because that would be very that would make sense. But low cortisol myelin, if I did a low cortisol myelin dance, that would be a lie. And I don't want to lie to you, as previously established. My high cortisol is part of my charm. They took on all the cortisol of their child. How heroic. It's true. We published a research paper that belittled psychology and analyzed these psychologists' responses. Torg! That would actually be honestly very, very funny. And it would make me laugh, but also be upset, but also... It would be one of those, like, I can't even be mad, but I want to be papers. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. Let's see how far we get. I would like to... Oh my gosh, everything just keeps happening. Also, what is this graph? Did you really need a graph for this? This is just 3 means. What are you doing? Anyway. Okay, I'm done. I feel like I'm being petty, and that's not a good way to go into a paper. I don't want to read a paper while feeling petty. That's not a thing that I want from life. I feel like that's not a good mindset to read a paper in. Look at this graph. Isn't it neat? I don't know. Yeah, this graph just makes me sad. Also, was your scale from 1 to 11? I don't know what's happening. I don't know. That didn't need a graph. These make more sense as a graph. But petty academic drama is so good. I mean, it is so good, but I'm trying to set a good example here, Professor Hedgehog. I'm trying to look like a responsible, respectable person here to an extent. I don't want to look too petty. Wouldn't you think my data's complete? Yes, yes. New song cover announced. Look at this graph. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my data set's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the study that's got no error? I've got x-axes and error bars galore. I've got... I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's a histogram. No, it's not a histogram, it's a bar chart. What am I talking? I need to go to sleep. This is... Something is happening right now, and I don't think that this is a good thing that is happening right now. Oh, right, the Nickelback I don't even know why because Don't worry, Mylan, petty academic drama does not dictate the moral field. It is too divine for that. You know, you're fair. You're fair. This doesn't feel like the fun kind of petty or the silly kind of petty, though. This is just me getting deeply irritated about them putting up a straw man. Like... And I think that they're not intentionally making a straw man. I think that they are simply, I don't want to say ignorant, because that sounds pejorative. I simply think that they have not stepped outside of their area, but they are trying to state conclusions about people that are not in their area. That's what I was going for, CDM. I just went along with the ride from Mylan. That's fine. No. Look at this graph. Awkward pause. Zoom in on my face. That's the meme, right? Look at this graph. Look at this Graph. There it is. The beautiful graph. Isn't it incredible? Graph. Oh no, oh no. Okay, okay, okay. All right. We should get back to reading, everybody. Should get back to reading. Tyler, please. Kaiju theme. All right, all right. Look, I walk amongst the bars. Here I am, striding down the city streets of the bar chart. Anyway. Please don't. I do too, Marlon. It's fun. Okay. All right, where were we? Let's try and read a little longer, and then I give up. And then I give up. You gotta read the paper, but it's not making it easy on you. That's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel right now, but I'm trying my best. But I'm not gonna finish this paper in the stream. I'm not finishing this paper in the stream. I might finish this paper off stream so that I can take breaks to just like breathe into a paper bag or something. I walk amongst the bars, a cultural anthropology. Incredible. Okay. We'll turn to more methodological details of our research design, including sample. Okay, yeah. As well as originally Lebanon. Why or only originally? Originally, we also planned to include Lebanon as a fourth country, but this proved to be unfeasible due to political circumstances, while our survey agency, one of the most reliable agencies we're aware of, promised to be able to field the questionnaire in all four countries. They were unable to do so in Jordan and Lebanon. Most importantly, the local partners of the survey agency argued that due to the contestation of the topic of migration in Jordan and Lebanon during the time frame of our fielding and due to limited number of respondents in their online panels, no sufficient number of respondents with valid answers could have been reached via representative online sampling. The sampling method that we use for response in Germany and Poland, hence is using online samples in Jordan, turned to be out impossible. We fielded a representative face-to-face survey in Jordan using the agency NAMA located in Amman. Okay. It's not healthy finishing this paper in any kind of stream. I agree, Oxygen. That's kind of what I'm feeling. That's the vibes I'm getting. Okay, all right. So Lebanon was just simply not possible for them to gather data there, which that sucks. I always want people to be able to gather as much data as possible. And we choose to use a sample of countries that might seem surprising at first sight. However, for shedding empirical light on the plausibility of our theoretical argumentation, the sample has great advantages. Tell me more. In our survey experiment, we use a conspiracy theory that focuses on what has been called the migration crisis. So they are also using a specific conspiracy theory. I see. Deletes 11. No! They just weren't able to get data. And it looks like they almost couldn't get data in Jordan, but then they were able to find a different group they were able to find some different organization that was able to do the collection for them in Jordan, but they couldn't do the same in Lebanon for whatever reason. Okay, so they're using both conspiracy mentality and a specific conspiracy theory that is stable across all the groups, just migration stuff. That was a heck of a burying the lead. I'm wondering about those three countries. Yeah, okay. To ensure that this topic is of equal relevance to all respondents, we sampled countries where the crisis was of enduring salience in the public communication and politics. I feel like there are other countries they probably could have included in here too that would also apply for that. I don't know. For this larger sample, we selected 2 countries from Europe and 2 from the Middle East, the latter of which was said to be more okay, so they're just like saying we picked countries that met this criteria and then we randomly selected this many, presumably because of like limited resources for recruitment and stuff. The latter of which are said to be more prone to conspiracy theories at both the elite and mass level and to have experienced more actual conspiracies than is true for, oh yeah, the good old, this is one of the ones that I was referring to, I think. No, no, this isn't the one that I was referring to. They were referring to something different when they're... Okay, interesting. However, to gain even more variance regarding our arguments, we chose to use countries from the European context of one which is more known for conspiracy communication and one less so. Yeah? Oh, is Poland the one that's seen as more prone to conspiracy communication? Because I know there has been a fair amount of work on conspiracy belief in Poland, but I think that's largely because one of the people who researches this stuff is from Poland. This isn't even an empirical article. This isn't even an empirical article. This is from The Guardian. This is from... If you want to say that Sorrell... Okay, does Sorrell at all provide... Okay, all right. Yeah, see, this Bollwerk's, this guy, or this person, this researcher here in the middle author here, they have done a lot of work of conspiracy belief in Poland. A lot. Also Chikoka as well. But, like, they're just saying one of these is known for this, but does that actually mean that Poland has more conspiracy belief than Germany, and therefore it's more prevalent there, or is it just that it's been more studied? I'm aware of more more studies on conspiracy belief in Poland than conspiracy belief in Germany, and I don't know if that's because conspiracy theories are actually more prevalent and talked about in Poland, or if it's just a matter of where the researchers who study this stuff happen to be, right? And the fact that they're citing a Guardian article as justification for why Poland is viewed as a place that's more prone to conspiracy theories doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Or more well-known. I guess if they're simply talking about how well-known it is, which I guess is kind of what they're saying, you don't necessarily need a peer-reviewed article for that. You can use examples, but I bet could they only find articles claiming that Poland has this and not articles claiming that Germany has it? Because in that case, maybe I could see that argument. But if they're just cherry picking an article that says Poland has this and then not looking for articles that says Germany has it, then I don't think... I don't know. I'm worried... Again, I'm worried I'm getting too petty about this paper. Let's just finish out this section and then we can stop and I can just finish the rest of this off screen. I think I'm really not in the right mindset to be reading an empirical paper because they've kind of lost my trust and respect by showing considerable ignorance of the psychological side of this, which has frustrated me, and now I'm no longer in the right mindset to read this paper. Which makes me sad. I wish I could put those feelings aside, but I don't trust them, both because they seem to be being condescending to psychologists and because they seem to likely have just simply not noticed, but perhaps even in the most ungenerous interpretation have willfully ignored a lot of work done by psychologists. The Guardian made me twitch and writhe in horror too, yeah. That's an admirable level of self-awareness. I try and be self-aware of this stuff. I do my best. But I also acknowledge that even if I do manage to gain self-awareness of this, that doesn't mean I'm able to override the bias. Even in being aware of your own bias does not magically give you the power to override that bias. I wish it did. But, I have feelings about this. And I wish I could turn off my feelings and just evaluate things objectively, but that's just not a thing that human beings can do, or Mothmen, or slide rock bolters. We can't separate rationality from emotions. That's just not a thing. Which is frustrating and inconvenient. But I think it's very important to acknowledge it, at the very least. So that people aren't just trusting me blindly, when I know that I am probably processing this information in a biased manner, However, to gain more variance regarding our arguments, Obviously, creating an ideal sample based on these conditions would have resulted in a much larger number of countries, but as for most social scientists, our budget only allowed to sample from a limited number of countries. Very fair. Very fair. Unfortunately, a lot of the time we could do much better studies than we actually do, but money is required for goods and services, and therefore money and time are definitely, and just resources in general, are major restraints on our ability to conduct the ideal study, which sucks. I trust it. Is it okay to trust you blindly if I use echolocation? No. Never trust me blindly, please. Please, I'm begging you not to trust me blindly. Please don't trust me blind. I know that I can be wrong. I have been wrong at least once on this stream already when I said that Pokemon Season 1 through 4 was not like, don't trust me blindly. I will always, of course, attempt to acknowledge when I'm wrong, but I don't always know when I'm wrong, you know? Like, what if I can read you in Braille? That sounds like... I don't want you touching me, please. Personal bubble. Don't... I do not have Braille on my skin or on my outfit. And parts of my outfit are very pointy. So, no touchy. Cryptids can be wrong. It's true, Tyler. It's true. You have a good track record, though? Oh, thank you. I try. But I can think of many, many, many occasions when I have been wrong or unintentionally spread incorrect information. And I always try and correct myself. But, you know, what if I hear it from Astral, so I'm trusting him blindly, not you? No. I mean, like, printed auto captions, but a bit sure. Oh, that would be cool. I mean, don't trust printed auto captions any more than you would trust me, but that would be neat. That would be really cool. Anyway, okay. For expectation 1, we mentioned 3 potential mechanisms. Oh, wait. In the end, 3 countries. I really wish that they had found some other country to replace it, but I recognize that, like, a lot of people... Like, this already took 6 months from submission to acceptance, this paper. And a lot of people are, you know, trying to... In academia, there's the publisher perish culture, and oftentimes, like, especially if you're on the clock for tenure, there's a lot of pressure to publish as many papers as quickly as possible. So I can see them wanting to just get this paper out and not want to wait to try and find a 4th country to replace Lebanon in their sample. Or maybe they were just really sick of this project and were just like, screw it, just get it out the door. We want it off our desks. We want it done. I'm trusting at least the chicken stream completely. I think you can trust... Okay, I will make one exception. You cannot never trust me completely, except for the chicken stream. In the chicken stream, you can trust me completely, while also acknowledging that you had no idea what I was saying, okay? Everything that I said in the chicken stream was true, you just don't understand the language that I was speaking. Okay? So at the end of the day, it's net zero information, but trying to get a new country might also mess up their time series. Did they... They didn't do time series in here, though, Professor Hedgehog, I don't think. Yeah, the data would be from a different year. That's entirely possible, yeah. You know I speak chicken. I wasn't speaking chicken, though, Eggy. Well, yeah, but, like, yeah, no, sorry, Professor Hedgehog, I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying. Like, if we want to do a truly cross-cultural study, and we do know that there is a global context... Yeah, if they got another country, they would suddenly have a time series. Yeah, that is possible that was something that they were worried about. And this was collected during COVID, so there definitely was a lot of, like, worldwide, like, considerations to be had and stuff. And, like, temporal stuff. Especially because a lot of the conspiracy theories at the time were about that. Though, it looks like for the specific ones, they're specifically focusing on, migration conspiracy theories, but I imagine even the migration conspiracy theories probably had stuff to do with COVID, and like anxiety about migration probably also had stuff to do with COVID, specifically during that period. Yeah, chicken, 95% chicken 1, chickens. That was a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie. All right, okay. If the level of religiosity is decisive, we should observe. So, decisive, I'm guessing by decisive they mean if religiosity predicts conspiracy belief, we should observe the following pattern of generic conspiracy beliefs. Decisive, I think they're saying if religiosity is the single most important variable for predicting belief in conspiracy theories, which I don't think it would be. Like, we do know religiosity predicts belief in conspiracy theories, but I think the relationship can be inconsistent, so I would be very surprised if it was the determinant. Rigorous stuff happens in time series, and I'm still scared of delving in it. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm really scared of, like, I want to learn how to do an interrupted time series analysis, but also I'm intimidated. But I would very much like to learn how to do it. I have a friend who's very good at statistics and does a lot of time series stuff. Like, most of his stuff is almost exclusively time series, so maybe I'll bug him one day to help, to, like, teach me. Or, like, at least see if I can get his notes or something. Right. For expectation, right. Jordan, Poland, Germany, as religiosity should be most important to citizens in Jordan, followed by Polish and German citizens. If the level of actual conspiracies experienced in any given culture or region is decisive, then we should observe the following patterns, where Jordan has the most. Poland is about the same as Germany, with Poland and Germany having experienced less conspiracies undertaken by external conspiratorial actors, which we are focusing on in our experiment taking place in the time compared to Jordan. Okay, so if they had studied the psychology stuff thoroughly, I'm not sure if I would have made this hypothesis, because just belief in one conspiracy theory predicts belief in other conspiracy theories, even if those conspiracy theories are not in the same genre. So it's not that just because you haven't experienced external conspiracy theories, you clearly wouldn't believe only external conspiracy theories. It's if you've experienced external conspiracies, you're probably also more likely to believe internal conspiracies. If you haven't experienced internal conspiracies, then you might be a little less likely to also believe external. I don't know. Maybe this isn't a problem. Maybe I'm not thinking about this right. I don't know. And again, this could just be my bias, like getting all nitpicky. Like, if I wanted to get really nitpicky with my bias, I could say, you can't really hypothesize that two groups are the same. At least depending on what type of statistical test and branch of statistics they're using. What statistics are they? They are doing statistics, right? You are doing statistics, right? Okay, they're doing an ANOVA. They're doing an ANOVA, and the ANOVA cannot draw conclusions about the null. You cannot hypothesize that two groups are equal using an ANOVA. So this hypothesis is not testable. This aspect of this hypothesis is not testable with the way that they're doing things, which kind of bugs me. I would rather than saying that these two are equal, that I would rather they say something like, we don't predict a difference here. So, but that could just be me being statistically nitpicky. Like, maybe this equals sign is supposed to represent we don't expect to see a difference here. Maybe it doesn't represent we think these are the same. Yeah. I think I'm getting nitpicky. I need to calm down. I just don't like the setup of this hypothesis. This is like... Are they looking at country-level religiosity or individual religiosity within the country, and then just making these predictions based on country-level religiosity to draw conclusions about what individual religiosity would do, and then using the conclusions about the individual effects of religiosity to go back to draw conclusions about country-level religiosity? Because that's what it feels like they're doing. It feels like they're saying, this country is more religious, therefore the individuals in this country should be more religious, which should predict higher conspiracy belief, which would lead us to conclude that the religiosity of the country is what leads to higher It feels circular. It feels circular. Like, they're making a hypothesis about the country, testing it at the individual level, and then using those individuals to draw a conclusion about the country. Oh. Like, they're saying, like, psychologists are focusing on individual levels, and then they are looking at data at the individual level. Which, admittedly, if they had only done it at the country level, they would not have the statistical power to do shit. But, like, It feels like they're doing exactly the same thing to that they are ragging on psychologists for doing, in a way. Maybe not exactly the same thing, but it's like they're using the same methods psychologists would while saying, wow, a psychologist would never. Okay, my bias is showing. Like, I need to calm down and try and turn off my annoyance and go back into this paper as if I'm reading it fresh without all of that, like, stuff that they said earlier. I need to stop. Finally, at the level of conspiracy theories in the communication of political and societal, I'm very curious to see how they measure this. We should expect the following pattern where Poland is greater than Jordan. Wait, are these their competing hypotheses? And they're going to use the... Wait, are they not using religiosity to predict conspiracy belief? But they're using the country to predict conspiracy belief and then saying, because we know this country's more religious, then if this country shows the highest mean, it's because of the religion? That feels confounded as hell. Wait, I need to see their measures. I need to see how exactly they're measuring the variables that they're going to be putting in here. Psychologists would never do psychologist work. We're very smart. Yeah, no, Acedium, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think I'm speculating a lot before I've actually read the bit where they tell us what they did. Their wording right now has me confused, and I, of course, am very annoyed with this paper, so I'm probably interpreting and drawing conclusions in uncharitable ways. So I don't put too much stock in anything that I'm saying right now. I'm just wildly speculating. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for understanding. While we do not observe a salient distribution of conspiracy theories, at least not before the COVID-19 pandemic among political and social elites in Germany, the opposite is true for Jordan and Poland, especially since... Okay, but do you have any citations or data to back up this claim, or is this anecdotal? In Poland took over power in the general election in 2015. Governmental communication in Poland has been filled with conspiracy theories after his twin brother died in an airplane accident in Russian ground in 2010. Kaczynski, is that Kaczynski? Has ever since argued that the Russian government has purposely shot the airplane. Furthermore, the Polish government has often indicated there's a secret German-led plot that, under the framework of European integration, wants to recolonize Poland and destroy Polish values. Both conspiracy themes are fed by the long term of Soviet, that is Russian, suppression of Polish sovereignty during the Cold War. Okay, but have you actually compared political communication, like, empirically between these countries? Like, do you have empirical comparisons as opposed to anecdotal comparisons? Oxygen tank, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I worry that I'm almost posing something that could sound like it's not quite a conspiracy theory. I don't think it would qualify, but it's almost starting to sound like a conspiracy theory, where I'm just like, I think the authors aren't... I'm trying to be very careful not to say they're intentionally doing this, because 9 times out of 10, I tend to assume that something isn't intentional. Like, that something like this is not an intentional thing. I don't think people go out to write a paper to attack a discipline. Maybe we need a paper about how to judge, a video about how to judge the quality of a paper. That'd be a very interesting video. And I feel like it's a lot of case by case. Like, there are some general rules, but, like, a lot of things are case by case, which is frustrating. Okay. The prominence of these other gender and Jewish conspiracy theories have led Sorrell et al. To state that Poland is a country in which conspiracy beliefs seem ubiquitous in social and political life. Okay, but that's only talking about Poland, based on the title at least. Based on the title, this only appears to be talking about Poland. It does not appear to be comparing Poland to other countries. The title says conspiracy mentality in Poland, not Poland relative to other countries, right? Paper power scaling tier list. In Jordan, the prominence of conspiracy theories in political communication is less viable, especially when it comes to monarchy itself stating them. Still, one finds media comments published in outlets that are close to the monarchy, meaning that the comments are at least not in contrast to what the monarchy thinks. I don't want to say losing the plot, but, like, you're treating the leaders themselves and then media that is associated with the leaders, almost like they're the same thing in terms of political messaging, which maybe they are. Maybe I don't have the cultural and historical context to really evaluate what's going on here. I don't. Still, one finds meaning. Right, we heard that. One of them makes the strong case that conspiracy theories are widely distributed among the Jordanian and elite in public. Okay, but the politicians, that's what you care about. But this is so for good reason, as they all have a true core. In the view of the commentator, conspiracy theories, especially those about Israel and Jewish political actors, describe what is going on rather than... Okay, but this is a commentator. This isn't empirical. You just said that's a commentator. That's not... And this is from the Jordan... Deep breaths. Deep breaths. They've conflated conspiracy theory mindset and conspiracy beliefs, so there's a pattern of conflating stuff here. Yeah. It's frustrating to me that they're saying psychologists are doing it wrong, and then they're doing a lot of things that a psychologist would consider bad research practice. I know that there are different norms in different areas. And maybe this is completely normative in their area, but I'm seeing a lot of problems with the validity of their study based on how we would train somebody to do a study in psychology. I am not confident in this study design, and I'm not sure what I will learn from this study. I don't think that I can draw the I don't think that based on how they've described this so far, and again, we haven't read the methods yet, but based on how they've discussed this, based on how they've said, this is why we chose these countries, this is why we believe what we believe about these countries, based on those things, I am not confident that this is a terribly internally valid study based on the standards that I am accustomed to. I'd also previously stated that they chose, and I feel like it was kind of implied maybe, or maybe that's just me reading too into things, that the countries that they picked were chosen at random from a list of countries that qualified. But I'm a little sus if it was actually random. And I guess they never stated that it was random. I guess that was maybe me projecting, because one of the countries is Germany and all the researchers are from Germany. Which makes me feel like at least the selection of Germany was non-random. They're just like, this is convenient. But to their credit, they did also add Poland in there as well. So. Oh man, I'm getting hungry. Anyway. It seems plausible to state that conspiracy theories are part of political... Oh my god! I thought you just said that you picked Jordan because conspiracy theories are part of its political communication, but they're saying it seems plausible that they're part of the political communication because of some commentator. And because... Okay. Okay. So we're just saying stuff now. Just like we suddenly said rethink religiosity would matter with zero citations, even though I know such citations exist. We're just saying stuff now. based on anecdotes and some commentator. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. These examples also provide additional information for expectation 2. In our experiment, as we outline below in more detail, we vary the conspiratorial actor between the experimental groups, the actor being in the Secret Service either from Russia, Israel, or the USA. We do not expect differences in the credibility of the specific conspiracy theory along the variance of 3 actors in Germany, as neither public stereotypes nor political communication would indicate a clear ranking of negative stereotypes associated with the 3 actors. But conspiracy belief is also associated with threat. Can we really say there's no difference in concerns about these 3 countries in Germany? Like, I'm not super familiar with the German political status in, say, 2021, 2020 when they were doing this work. But are we really saying that Germans felt equal threat from Russia, Israel, and the USA all during this time period? They all found all 3 of these countries equally threatening? Or are we just ignoring the association between feelings of threat and belief in conspiracy theories? Or did we just not read those papers because they were written by psychologists? Okay, that was a little that was mean of me. I'm sorry. That was a bit too far. I'm sorry. I'm just frustrated. Okay. For Jordan, the socialization argument would expect significant differences following the pattern of Israel has greater than or equal to USA belief is greater than Russia. Okay, so they think that in Jordan, Israel should be seen as the biggest threat, and if you blame them, the conspiracy theory seems more plausible. Maybe the USA, with Russia being the least threat to Jordan. Russia seemingly being the actor least prominently representative of conspiracy theories outlined in the source above, and other prominent conspiracy theories in the region. But you're using sources from 2014. Okay, so here's another thing that gets me. They're saying these conspiracy theories are relevant to our hypothesis because they were mentioned in papers from 2014. However, this paper was published in 2021, and in the introduction, they make an argument that political context affects belief in conspiracy theories. The political context in Jordan and much of the world is not the same in 2014 as it was in 2021. So by their own argument, this logic doesn't follow. Okay. Have we reached the conspiracy theory about cheese yet? What are I talking about? What's that about? Anyway, again, the communication argument would probably follow the same pattern, but with greater difference between... To be fair to them, political context has been shifting very rapidly in the past 10 years. Torg, I feel like that makes it even less fair to them, though. Because, like, because political context has been shifting even rapidly, that makes it even less acceptable to rely on a paper from 2014. Like, if we say political context shift has been slow, then you can make a better argument for doing this. But if political context is shifting rapidly, this becomes much less justifiable to do. I don't... would I be treating this paper nicer if they didn't shit on psychologists? Would I think this paper was totally fine if they didn't spend a good chunk on it saying that psychologists are dumb and we're here to save the day? I don't know. What I mean is the resources available to them are likely scarce and universally. So, like, what were they supposed to do? Do a pilot study. Do a pilot study. Do a pilot study to identify which conspiracy theories are being shared the most in those countries. Or, like, if this is about, like, which countries are being blamed for things, or which actor is represented prominently in conspiracy theory, which, okay, this is their setting themselves, so they determine which actors they think are going to be mentioned, supported in conspiracy theories by which actors are already being supported in conspiracy theories, which is like, why are you even testing it? You've already tested the hype. Well, I guess they haven't, because they're just basing it on data from 2014. But they literally could have just gone on social media, or like gone on known like conspiracy theory news sites from these countries and seen look to see which countries were popping up the most. And that would have been like maybe a week of work at most. Like, that, it wouldn't be, they could have done it. They could have done it. They could have gone and looked themselves to see which countries are being mentioned in conspiracy theories in these countries by just going on the internet. But they didn't. Instead, they went to an article from 2014 for a study done in 2020 or 2021. Probably in 2020. I think this was submitted in January of 2021, so they probably did this in 2020. But they could have just gone online. Like, even if they didn't have the money to do a pilot study, they could have just gone online. The internet exists, and it's a wonderful thing. We don't know our data, so how we can just... I do think, okay, to be a bit fair to them, saying go online, the people who are online are not necessarily perfectly representative of the population as a whole. I'll give them that. And in Jordan in particular, they did specifically only do offline data collection. Yeah, you might need to consider access to the internet itself in that country. That's true, CDM. Though they are citing Jordan publications from Jordan in here. Where was it? The commentator, yeah, here, this is a citation to the Jordan Times. They didn't have to go to the internet. They could have looked at what the publications, or like, well, they didn't have to use internet-only sources. They could have also looked at what the publications in that area were talking about. Though I guess that, no, but no matter how they do this, it's going to be kind of a circular hypothesis. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about how they're doing this, and I'm not sure how much of that is just me being like more attentive, more on the lookout for flaws, because they kind of like set it up in such a way that is almost like taunting psychologists who might be reading it, or if, I don't know. Can't time travel, can't unread what I've already read, you know, like, hard to say. This did make it past peer review, so. Again, the communication argument would probably follow the same pattern, but with a greater difference between the credibility of a conspiracy theory, including an Israeli actor. And actually, no, it would make sense to, like, rather than just relying on a past study, at least from the communication argument side, if they're saying that government signaling is what makes people believe certain conspiracy theories about certain actors, then couldn't they look at the countries that government officials are mentioning in the conspiracy theories that they're sharing? So they could just look at government communication to do this, as opposed to looking at like current government communication when they were collecting the data. They could have just gone and seen what government officials were saying when they were collecting the data, instead of looking at a paper from 2014. I feel like you would have been a little more polite if they didn't shit on psychologists, but overall it does seem like the paper's all over the place. Yeah, I definitely would have been more polite, I think, and more forgiving, I think. I just, like, sometimes when you have a good feeling about a paper, you're not examining it as critically. I think I definitely would have noticed flaws in this paper, but I don't know if I would have noticed as many flaws as I'm noticing now. Or, like, base some of my discussion of potential pitfalls on speculation as much as I am at present, which makes me kind of unhappy with myself, letting my emotions get away from me like that. But I don't know. I don't know. We can't go into an alternate universe, but I do think I certainly would have been more polite and even harder on giving the benefit of the doubt if they hadn't done that. Which frustrates me because, like, what they say about psychologists should not have anything to do with how I evaluate what they're saying, right? Like, what they think about me has no bearing on the quality of their research. Though I will say that, like, the fact that they seem to think psychologists, like, that psychologists have been doing bad work seems to have prevented them from finding highly relevant past research, which is concerning. But I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm tired and I'm hungry and I'm annoyed. And none of these things are good for critical thinking. We're almost at the end of the section, which means we're almost at the end of the stream. And we're getting close to 3 hours. Oof. Again, the communication argument would probably follow the same pattern, with a greater difference between the credibility of a conspiracy theory, including an Israeli actor, and conspiracy theories using US or Russian actors, as the USA are over recent years seen as an ally by the monarchy. However, as this should be true for supporters of the monarchy only, we cannot test this expectation, as no survey institute in Jordan would ask questions for citizens' degree of monarchy support. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But even if so, we would surely have a strongly biased variable, probably because of social desirability, demand characteristics, fear, that kind of thing. We sum up our expected observational patterns in the following table 1. So this is their hypothesis. This is a table that's showing their hypothesis. They're not calling it a hypothesis. They're calling it expectations, but this is their hypothesis. Okay. I'm going to stop there. I want to finish reading this off stream. I do want to finish reading this paper and see what they found and stuff like that. I hope that I can bring myself to. I think I need to take a step away from this paper for a bit while I just get some food in me. Maybe I'm just hangry. I might just be hangry. Maybe after I get some dinner, I'll feel better and I'll chill out. I don't know. Anyway. Thank you all so much for joining me today for whatever the heck that was. I'm sorry we didn't get farther. Plus one step away, will you update us with your final thoughts? If I do end up finishing this paper, I will update you with your final thoughts. Minecraft later? Yeah, probably. I'll probably play some Minecraft later. We'll see. But for now, thank you all so much for joining in. I hope that you are all doing well. Oh yeah, and if any of you want to like look ahead, check what they're gonna do or what they say later on in the paper, you can go, the link to the paper and the DOI and stuff like that and the full citation are in the description of this video or of the stream. Yeah, thank you all for coming to the stream. I hope that you all have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day it might be, and I will see you later. Bye.